Hello, 13th jurors. Hello, hello. I have been waiting on this all day. I don't know who kept up with the Lori Vallow stuff today, but it has been a crazy day, and I'm so excited for us to talk about it and to come up with a plan because everything is going nuts today. So, hello. I have seen y'all. I checked in with you a few minutes ago. I was trying to finish up some graphics for tonight. But I have checked in a couple times on chat to see who is in here. And we have a new throne distribution today. I would like to congratulate, with a name like Buckingham, you got to get a throne. So congratulations to Abe Buckingham. You are the first in chat. You win the imaginary throne that doesn't exist. You can get it in any color you want, and we will even help you put it together. Congratulations to you. That is a lot of hard work and dedication that went into being the first in chat, and you are appreciated. We also have, I love the congratulations. Like everybody congratulates people on their non-existent throne. It's my favorite part. Like it's exciting for everybody. I love that. Congrats, King. Abe, you're a king. Congrats. And then we also have our second in chat. You get your second non-existent stool. So congratulations to you, Teresa, on your non-existent stool for second place. And if you look closely, it's kind of like one of those like old, like 70s, super uncomfortable. That's like, normally like at your, grandma's kitchen counter. It's one of those. And, it may not be comfortable or cute, but they sure do bring up good memories. So congratulations to you. Second day in a row, you now have a matching set of non-existent 70s style stools to take home with you. So congratulations to that. Yes, I love that y'all are like, oh, you need a crown, you need this, you need that. The exciting stuff that y'all come up with that literally doesn't even exist, but we're just like, hey, this would be a good idea. I love that. It's one of my favorites. So congratulations to both of y'all on your non-existent prizes. Abe said, this is great. It's great to get non-existent stuff. That's awesome. A crown, we will work on it. We're just going to have a whole separate non-existent merch list that we have to somehow figure out how to get all y'all everything you want. Gail Pet said, I am that grandma. Gail Pet, do you have these stools at your counter? I know a lot of people still do. And that's okay. Because you know what? Things aren't made like they used to be, and these stools still last. They're still sitting on all kinds of counters, all kinds of kitchens, all across the world. So congratulations on your sturdy stool. I see RA is here. Hello, RA. How are you? Long time no see. Let's see. Any pity floor seats available? You know what? Just for you, Angie. Yes, you get a pity floor seat. Just for you. Congratulations. Everybody congratulate Angie on her pity floor seat. Congratulations to you on that. I'm trying to make sure I tried. Y'all, I'm by myself tonight, so it's going to be without my my co-host with the most. It is a little bit more difficult for me to read all the comments. So if I miss y'all, it is not because I don't love you dearly. It's just because I can't talk and read that fast all at once. We could do a crown. If y'all are tired of the non-existent thrones, we can do a crown. We can do a different prize every day. It'll be like a prize in a Cracker Jack box. You never know what you're going to get. But except for the ones in the Cracker Jack box actually exist, but that's okay too. Also, my mods tonight with StreamYard, for whatever reason, I cannot see when memberships are gifted. So if that happens, I can normally see anything else. But if that happens, will y'all please just let me know on here, because I don't ever want to miss somebody and when they're, doing sweet stuff for us and supporting the channel. So I don't want to ever miss that. So hi, Anna G, your first time 13th juror. Welcome. welcome. We are glad you're here. This is one of the best chats in the world. I absolutely love it. Yes, RA, good group, feels like home. We have a lot of the same people in here that I love it because I get to see y'all during the day in RA stream, and then follow whatever trial that's going on there and chit chat and talk, and then I get to see y'all in the evenings too. So and now that this one is ending, because we had both the state and the prosecution rest today, we've got the closing arguments coming up Thursday, and then we're going to be in jury watch, y'all. So, or verdict watch. So, and that's actually happening sooner than I thought. I thought we had probably about another week. So, I'm actually a little bit surprised by that. So we have to start figuring out which one we're going to do next. And I'm kind of digging the whole evening thing because, first of all, because I don't want to miss RA's chat. I enjoy RA's chat, but also, I'm actually kind of loving how we are able to condense the trial into, getting rid of the lunch breaks and the all the stuff. So we can take an 8-hour day and, condense it into a little bit less. But since we're not going to be waiting on audio, we're still going to, that's the plan, to still do that, but we're going to be able to start earlier. So that will be nice. So we might not be able to tuck y'all in at night and tell you good night as much as you're used to, but we will be able to start earlier. So that will be nice. And so any of the suggestions on what's coming up that y'all want us to cover or want us to take a look at, let me know. You can email them to me, and my email, it pops up when the mods pop it up sometimes, but it's Brandi@brandichurchwell.com. So y'all can email me whatever cases are coming up that y'all want to take a look at, because once this verdict is done, it's a done deal, y'all. Yes, Leah, no court tomorrow. They are going to do closing arguments on Thursday, and then we will go into verdict watch. And I can't wait. I tweeted today, I was saying, I hope, would it not be the most amazing Mother's Day gift ever for Letitia Stalk and for Lori Vallow to both be convicted within a week of Mother's Day? I think that would just be the coolest thing ever, and that is all I want. So Mother's Day, gods and portals and zombies, if you're listening, that's what I want. Oh, speaking of portals and whatnot, I got my, I don't know if y'all can see it, Chart Lady Cult Leader. I got my cup today, and I'm a little behind on ordering the merch. I've spent more time designing the merch than I did ordering it. So I finally got my cup today, and I showed my mama, and my mom was like a little bit concerned for me and my whole cult thing. She doesn't quite get it. And I also, y'all, I can't not have Lucy. So since she's the 13th juror mascot, so I ordered my wine glass with sweet little Lucy on there. So I got that one today as well. So, hey, Shannon Shaming is here. If y'all have not seen, I know y'all have heard me talk about it because I shout them out, but if you have not seen Shaming of Jay, Shannon is the wifey slash behind the scenes, does all the, like, where I do all the charts here, she's like the chart lady, cult leader over there. So she does her like infographics and all that stuff for the trials they're following, but that's Shaming of Jay. So I know y'all hear me talk about him. He's one of the friends of the channel, and we have his link on our on the front page too. So hello, Shannon. It's good to see you. Let me see if I've missed anybody. I know I have, and I'm trying to read fast. Let's see. I see some new members in here tonight too, some new visitors. It's good to have y'all. We'll be on our best behavior because we got company. Yes. Okay. So the Satan and a taco emoji was, look, the devil taco things, when that happened the other night, it was one of the funnest things, and probably not for devil taco because he got sent to Antarctica and put in a box, but it literally, we were all in here laughing about the devil tacos, and then I ended up door dashing tacos because who can talk about tacos without wanting tacos? So I ended up door dashing tacos, which was, and I actually, if y'all weren't here, I sent them to, my son lives in the same condo complex as I do, but he lives like 2 floors down and in the building that's like connected to us. So I door dashed to his condo because I couldn't get up during the, stream. So I door dashed to his condo, and then when it got there, I was like, oh yeah, oh, it's there. Could you just bring it to me? So totally tricked him. But you know what? I ordered extra tacos, so he got some. So, Frankie's World, yes, we are going to try to be on our best behavior when we got company. This is when we act our best until the storm graphics come out. And then not so much. Good to see you. We will catch you on the replay, crew. Yes, we have a great time. One thing about covering all this stuff, one thing that matters to me so much, I really love laughing at how ridiculous some of this stuff is. And we have so much fun doing that. But we also, I'm still very sensitive to the victims and everything, because, we still honor that. We don't, we don't laugh when it's the sad stuff. But we get to be there for each other with virtual hugs when we go through the hard stuff. And then we get to make storm graphics when it's not the bad stuff. Yes, you know what? Detective Daddy Calendar. Speaking of which, we're about to get into that too, because we have a new submission. Y'all, I think it's hilarious because new trial started today, and I know some of y'all are watching it with Recovery Addict. Some of you are watching it with Jay, and but wherever y'all are watching it, my inbox was blowing up because we have a new detective or a new hot cop trial daddy to put on the calendar. And I think he was, he was probably 7 or 8 submissions that I got at least. So that was really funny. So I'm about to show that. My son will be 20 in a couple months. He's something else. He's funny. Yes, we have a new daddy. I know y'all already get to that part. Okay, so I know that y'all been awesome and supporting, and I have been keeping y'all up to date with the memberships and stuff like that, because y'all know me, I cry when we hit our numbers. But we are up to, well, when I looked at it, it was 5,497. So I was like, now we hit. Okay, I went back and looked. So now we're at 5,504. I was like, dang, we're so close to 5,500. And so we got it. So now 5,504, which is amazing. And we have 364 members. So that's insane. It's insane. I am blown away. And it feels unreal to be able to do what doesn't even feel like work and just hang out with y'all. It's amazing. So y'all don't care about anything else but trial daddies. Let me get y'all to where y'all want to be, because I know that y'all have been waiting on this part, because we have a submission. And let me go ahead and, yes, I did. I thought it would be 5. Our first, the first night, I told JT, I was like, if we can get 5 memberships on the first night, if we can get 10 by the end of the weekend, like how cool would that be? And it was like 200. It was 156 first night and 225 the second night. And I'll never forget those 2 numbers, because I cried like a baby, and nobody will ever forget it because it is on the internet. And that's what I get for crying on the internet. Escort Daddy, I have not been able to check my email today because things have gone crazy today. I've been working on stuff, and I know that there were some people looking. So, thank you, RA. Thank you so much. That would be, look, Recovery Addicts almost there too. Recovery Addicts has like 7.2 billion subscribers these days. It's been really cool to watch him hit so many numbers, and there's nobody more deserving Yes, some of y'all were crying with me. I love that. I was, what's funny too is like when I got so emotional and I gave my little thank you, I had the ridiculous Letitia hair. So that clip of me on Twitter where I'm like, this is so amazing, and I'm so blessed and blah blah. It's such an emotional and like just vulnerable moment, and I'm so like raw in my emotions in that moment, and I got the most ridiculous hair, y'all, and that, but whatever, it made it even funnier. So, oh goodness gracious, this is what I get for not planning things out when I'm doing things on the internet. So, okay, so let's see. I've not checked my emails much today because I see some of y'all saying you've emailed me stuff. I will check it tomorrow. Today was just a crazy day. All right, so hot cops and trial daddies. This is what we've all been waiting on. I would like to apologize to those who don't care about this because the majority of y'all do. So we try to take a minute beforehand and go over this. And there was actually a beautiful, beautiful girl. She was a witness in the Lori Vallow trial. And so I had said something about if y'all want like a trial mama's calendar, y'all send me your submissions and I can make one of those too. But nobody sent anything yet. But man, y'all sure do blow it up for the trial daddies. All right. So hot cops and trial daddies, a super inappropriate calendar presented by the 13th juror. So quick recap in case you missed it. And I think I remember seeing an email about one of these names might be mixed up or something. So when I get a chance to check my email tomorrow, I'm going to catch up on everything, go through it, and I'll make sure anything that's not right is fixed. But we have Mr. May 2023, Sergeant Daniel Green from the Alex Murdaugh trial. And I think somebody emailed me his dog's name too. So, and the dog is just as important as he is because look at that cute little face. So we will get that name on there too as soon as I go through my emails tomorrow. But this is Sergeant Daniel Green from the Alex Murdaugh trial. We have Mr. June. This is like one of everybody's favorites in here, Detective Daddy. This is actually Detective Ariel Werther, but nobody would know him by that if you heard him, anybody in our group, because everybody knows him as Detective Daddy. He is the detective who we heard in Lori Vallow, who the chat named Detective Daddy because he's a cutie, but his voice is also like this very deep, like amazing, read you a bedtime story type voice. So, and you cannot have Father's Day in June without Detective Daddy. So he is our Mr. June. Mr. July is Joseph. Okay, I don't know how to say this. This one was submitted by some of Jay's followers or subscribers, and Kuchia, maybe, from the Eric Robinson trial. And we didn't even know his name until somebody sent it to my email and I got it put on there. But this is Mr. July, and he was, I think, on day one of the Eric Robinson trial. And then we have Mr. August, Nathan Tootin from the Murdaugh trial. He was a witness and just as sweet as he could be. Some of the younger ladies submitted this one. And he was just a cute little Southern gentleman. This is another one from Eric Robinson's trial. Joseph Salerno, I think is his name. And he has made it to Mr. September. He likes wearing his shirt too tight and long walks on the beach and margaritas in September. So this is Joseph Salerno. Next, we have Mr. October. You get a 2-for-1. We have our very own chat daddies in here. We have Matthew Harris Law and Weather Watch. And Matthew Harris Law was actually a guest with us on the WTF show on Sunday. If y'all missed that, you have to go back on the replay crew because that was a trip. And we had fun with him. So that is your 2-for-1 for October. Look at there. Ask and you shall receive. Hopefully we see James Egan. Yes, you do. James Egan is Mr. November 2023. He is best known as Clark Kent. He's the attorney for Gwyneth Paltrow in her civil suit with the ski crash. And he is just a little doll baby. And he was one of our biggest submissions to. The ladies love Clark Kent. Mr. December is Mark Tinsel Tinsley himself, and he's going to be on one of our WTF shows coming up too. And I have not told him yet about this. I think I'm going to ask JT to tell him about that because it's a little awkward to be like, hey, buddy, just so you know, just warning you. But this is Mr. Mark Tinsel Tinsley, if you will. He's from the Alex Murdaugh trial, and he is also the attorney for the Beach family. Mr. January 2024. Now, this one is who the chat has referred to so kindly as Sergeant Daddy, aka the Hump Day Honey. He is also from the Lori Vallow trial. He's another one that when we heard him talking, he's one of the ones that we were like, oh, let's put this on regular speed. He's got one of those just deep, amazing voices too. And we have one of our members who is in court every day, actually took this picture because we didn't have a real good picture of him. So she took this picture and told him that we call him Sergeant Daddy. And he was okay with us calling him Sergeant Daddy. And we may have, he had an amazing, amazing voice. We may have his voice as part of our intro coming up soon. Stay tuned on that. But this is Mr. January, and he's a sweet kid. I call everybody a kid. I guess I'm old. Mr. February, this is another one that the ladies loved Mr. February. He is Deputy James Nunez. Now, he's one of the arresting officers of Brian Kohberger. Brian Kohberger, this is his arm in there, his little scrawny arm. We don't need to see that. We just focus right there on Deputy Nunez. He is one that everybody loved, and people were sending me a bunch of pictures of him, and there's pictures of him like reading to the youngins and all that kind of stuff. So he seems like a good dude too, which is, makes him even more of our Valentine for Mr. February. Let's see. And we have Mr. March. This one is I don't know his name. If it's in my inbox, then I will check it. But I have not found his name yet. He is, they were calling him Captain America Cop. He was one of the ones. This is from Dashcam. He was searching Murdaugh's house after the murders and everything. So that's what this is from. And then we have Mr. April. This was the escort one. I mean, not like that kind of escort. He escorted Murdaugh to the courthouse and back. So you can see this is convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh right here. And he is, I think somebody was looking for his name and supposed to be sending it to me. I don't know if it's there yet, but I will check. And if not, or if you do know his name, then if you want to shoot me an email, I can add his name so that we're not just objectifying him with just guy who escorted Murdaugh. Okay, and then our new submission for today, Mr. May, Sergeant Andrew Phillips. He is the one who everybody blew up my Twitter and my inbox today. I had so many screenshots sent to me of this fella today. It was hilarious. And it made me so happy that, and I was even in the chats and I was seeing people, like, oh, this is a good one for the calendar. It's so funny. Because now I think we're all kind of like, scouting out the trial daddies in all the calendars. So, so congratulations to all of our trial daddies and any of the ones that y'all, trial daddies is one of the best things to come out of these trials. Any that y'all find, if y'all want to send them to me, Brandi at brandichurchwell.com, and I will be glad to sort through all of those pictures for you. I told, who was it? I think Lisa Wilmot today. I told her when I saw her chat, I was like, I'm doing this for y'all. I'm just here for y'all. I'm looking out for you because I know how much you love the trial daddies, and I'm just trying to make the calendar for you. I'm selfless like that. This is what I do for y'all. So goodbye, trial daddies. So a couple things going on with the trial today. Shireen wants one for screensaver. Yes. Yes, I'm always willing to take one for the team. This is the things I do for y'all because I love y'all so much. I do crazy hair and I sort through hot cops and trial daddies, all for y'all. So yeah, I think we all need a cold drink right now. Well, so, no, I guess not all of us, but probably according to my statistics, I think like 74% of us or something like that probably do. So with Lori Vallow today, I don't know who was following along with the tweets and the updates and all of that. We had a huge day, explosive day. It was basically we had, you know how the last witness always kind of comes in and is generally the one who, you know, drives it home, ties everything in together. So a lot of the stuff that we hear today is going to be kind of a repeat of the timeline stuff and the things that they've already been over, but just where everything's kind of, you know, talk about this, talk about this, talk about this. It will kind of take everything and put it all together in an order. So y'all know me, I'm going to make a timeline. So I made a timeline for us to follow along with that. I can do that. I don't know how to do that, but I can find out how to do that. But yes, it was crazy. And then the prosecution actually rested. And I was actually kind of surprised. I thought that we had probably maybe another week left of trial, but the prosecution rested. And then right after that, they talked to Lori. Lori's not going to testify. And they said that they are going to rest their case as well. So trial is over, y'all. They are not going to have court tomorrow. They're going to do closing arguments on Thursday. And then we are going to be in verdict watch. So that's crazy. I don't know what to say. I was expecting another week. But that's really exciting though. So we have tomorrow, since there's no court, there's a lot of people who were following other things. And there's a lot of people who have just kind of come in to this trial recently. So tomorrow, right after Recovery Addict Stream finishes, I'm going to go live here and going to do basically like a recap. So we're going to do a live chat, kind of go over who's who in this, kind of like the history lesson that we did, but more of, instead of like just the backstory, it's going to be more of what we've seen through trial, so that when we go into closing arguments on Thursday, we will, for anybody who's missing it or catching up, then, you know, y'all can kind of, they can kind of know what's going on and be able to follow it. And then a lot of people who haven't been able to follow it at night, it's just going to be a live chat recap and kind of go over the stuff that's happened. And I am excited about that. I can't believe that we're already about to be closing arguments and verdict watch. Let's see. I have, defense didn't quite say it that way. Didn't quite say which part that way. I saw that they had said something about how the state didn't prove their case, so they weren't even going to defend it or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the words. Let's see. Trying to see if I missed any questions. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I know that they don't have to present a defense, but as much as they've been putting everything on Chad, I kind of thought that they would have something with all that to try to throw that on over his way. But I guess not. Let's see. All right, I think that's all of the questions. I think I got everything. Oh yeah, happy Taco Tuesday. It's the Devil Taco Tuesday. That's so exciting. All right, I'm going to pull up see if I can pull up the audio for today. I haven't looked quite yet to see if it's out, but it wasn't a real long day, so it probably is. We can get it started. We're not going to be doing our regular later stream tomorrow. We're just going to be doing the earlier one to do the recap and everything. But then on Thursday, we'll do our regular evening stream, and we're going to stream the closing arguments. So let's see. And I can't wait to hear closing arguments. Oh, I hope that it's not what's it called? John Thomas. I block his name out. I hope it's not him. All right, let's see. Let me get the audio going. And y'all, I've not been having computer problems, knock on wood, but you know how every time JT's not here, for some reason, I always end up having audio problems. So if I do, then we'll just try to get back on it. But let me pull up that. Okay. I'm not sure what. Well, I'm pulling up this. I'm trying to look up some of y'all's questions. I'm not sure what the next case is going to be yet. I know that there were a couple people on Discord. I don't know how to work Discord very well, but I know there were a couple people on Discord that were looking. So if y'all find anything or if you have any suggestions, send them to me. I haven't had a chance to look yet, but okay. All right, y'all want to start at 1.25? That's what we normally do. All right, can y'all hear that? Oh. Wait, I didn't start it at the. I gotta start it. I hit the thing. Okay. All right, let me check the audio. Share system. Okay, now we'll see if we can hear it. Hi, Adrian. Enjoy lurking. Hi, Maury. Enjoy lurking. I hear him whispering. Hey, Cajun Kool-Aid. You missed Trial Daddies. That's all you've missed so far. Y'all hear? I hear whispering and ruffling papers. That's all I hear so far. Look, y'all send me some stuff for Trial Mamas, and I'll make y'all a Trial Mamas calendar too. A cushion. We'll work on that. Oh, we need to fast forward. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, can y'all hear that?
Excellent, thank you.
All right, before we get started with testimony, then just a few points
Is that
of clarification. First, this witness previously testified by my notes on April 24th, but we did have you placed under oath again today due to the lapse of time between then and now. And let me just inquire again, as I did the first time, in regards to the court's exclusionary order on viewing testimony. Since you were last here to testify, Agent Heidemann, have you viewed or listened to or in any way observed any of the trial testimony that's taken place in the case?
I have not.
Okay. With that in mind, then, Ms. Blake, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Heidemann, I know you've testified before, but can you please indicate where you are currently employed?
The Federal Bureau of Investigation.
How long have you been employed with them?
About 15 years.
What is your current title or position?
A tactical specialist.
Did you participate in the investigation regarding the whereabouts of J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan?
I did.
As part of your role in the investigation, did you review data and other documents recovered from cell phones and or iCloud accounts?
Yes.
Do you recall specifically looking at iCloud accounts of Lolly Time and Lori for Style?
This
Yes.
is her, Nicole Heidemann.
As part of your investigation or your role in the investigation, do you recall looking for portions of what was later termed the James and Elena story?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that was recovered as far as what type of format you found that story in?
It was in a combination of emails, text messages, and notes.
With the emails, could you tell who they had been sent from and who they were sent to?
They were sent from and to the lollytime@gmail.com account.
Do you know who the text messages were sent from and either by and to whom?
They were sent from a 515 number that has been attributed to Chad Daybell to Lori's iCloud account.
And what about the notes? Where did you locate those?
Those were in the Lori for Style iCloud account. There was not any timestamp, dates, anything on the note, so I can't say necessarily where those came from.
Through your involvement in the investigation, did you determine who James and Elena were referring to in the story?
Yes.
And who was that?
James was an alias for Chad, and Elena an alias for Lori.
Did you learn of other aliases for Chad and Lori?
Yes.
And what were those?
Again, for Chad was Raphael, and Lily for Lori.
And you had gone through, was it time consuming to piece this story together?
Yes.
Did you have to dig through a lot of phone data?
Through the iCloud data.
The iCloud data?
Yes.
And in piecing it together, was there a reason that you were asked to do this or that you took on the role of piecing this story together?
Hi, Ivan.
Yes,
And what was that?
to organize it. It was in so many different places. So to put it together into one story was my task.
And did you, in fact, compile that at some point into one story?
Yes,
Did you put that into a PowerPoint presentation?
I did.
And if I were to show you what was purported to be an exhibit or a PowerPoint created by you, do you think you would recognize it in paper format?
I would.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the court, defense counsel, and the witness be handed State's Exhibit 184B.
Thank you.
And do you recognize that?
I do.
And when you compiled that, was that the James and Elena story as you found it, but pulled and put together into one readable format?
She's a babe.
Yeah, it's copy and pasted from the iCloud, but from different portions of the iCloud accounts into one.
And again, the story was located between Lolly Time and Lori for Style,
Correct.
and then it was compiled to this.
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of State's Exhibit 184B.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I would object as to relevance. I would also like to voir dire and native objection as to other possible reasons for objection.
All right, I'll allow some voir dire native objection. Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. When you reviewed this Lolly Time account and the Lori for Style account, how long were you involved in reviewing that?
How long did it take to put it
Yeah.
all together? I don't remember. Honestly,
Okay.
It was a few years ago.
And you've entitled it the James and Elena story. Did the James and Elena story, did that title ever show up in any of this?
No.
Okay. And you, it seems to be a rather long narrative. Is that right?
Yeah, rather long.
And so you cut and pasted things from different places in the Lori for Style and the lollytime at iCloud.com.
Yes.
Is that right? And you
Yes, sir.
pasted it together?
Yes.
So there's a possibility that some of this stuff is taken out of order, the way that you put it together?
The titles in the emails were story 1, story 2. They were numbered, so I used that as my guide, at least for the emails. The text messages I did chronologically as they came through in text messages. The notes were, they didn't have any time or date stamp, so yes, those were in a little bit differently.
Okay. And you understand that Chad Daybell is an author,
Yes.
that he writes fiction?
Y'all want to do 1.5?
I think he does. Does he do just fiction or?
I mean, he
Both.
writes some fiction,
He
right?
does right. Yes.
Okay. All right. And this is a fictional story?
I don't believe that.
You believe that this is a true story?
Yes.
All right, let me change it real quick. We'll try 1.5. If it's too fast, y'all let me know.
Reading actual events to, or events in the story to actual events that happened in their lives.
Okay.
All right,
But a lot of
yeah,
the
that
events in
works.
here, you can't corroborate, right?
I think we're getting past voir dire as to the admission of the exhibit. I think we're getting into questions regarding some additional
Bobby had some.
work done by this particular analyst.
Well, I'll allow a little bit of additional voir dire on this, but you need to get to the point of the objection, Mr. Thomas.
Sure. So this, you're saying that none of this is fantasy, it's all true, and this is an autobiography or something to that effect?
I can't say that, I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't say that none of it is fiction, but it is also based in fact. Yes.
Okay. So it's a mixture of fiction and fact?
Possibly.
Judge, I'm going to object. on the basis that this witness is going to be testifying to things that are fiction and fact. She doesn't know the difference between the two, which is which, and she's going to possibly purport all of it to be fact, and that there could be misleading to the jury.
All right, so there was that objection as well as relevance. Response from the state, Ms. Blake.
Thank you, Your Honor. This absolutely is relevant, as was demonstrated by that board diary. At least portions of this appear to be based in fact. I think what the witness said is she believes that it to be a true story, or at least specific versions of that. The state can inquire further of the witness if the court has concerns about the admission right now. However, it appears that it would be admissible. It is evidence of underlying motive as well and should be allowed.
He's always rude.
Very well. The court's considered this objection in the context of Rule
Always rude.
403. I'll note also on the record I've further considered objections on the exhibit outside of the presence of the jury yesterday. In terms of the proposed exhibit at this point, 184B, based on the responses of the witness and also considering additional foundation that was laid yesterday by Agent Hart, the court would find that the balancing of Rule 403 is overcome, that it would
Hi,
be more
James. Not yet.
probative than prejudicial when considering Rule 403. I will, however, indicate that with the response of the witness that nowhere in the text themselves is the title there, the James and Elena story. As I understand it, that's not a title that was found within the text. So the court would consider that part of the exhibit to be demonstrative, and would like you to clarify, Ms. Blake, that part of it also, I would instruct the jurors to disregard as evidence the named title that apparently was provided by the witness. But as I understand it, the rest of the information comes from those accounts which were previously admitted into testimony. So I will allow for the admission of Exhibit 184B with an instruction to the jurors also that the title that has been provided for it is demonstrative, and the rest of the exhibit may be considered as evidence by the jurors.
And Your Honor, just to clarify for the record as well, the second slide says background. If the court would like that redacted or pulled out, the state does not have a problem with that. It's essentially information that was just placed into the record through testimony.
Okay, in terms of that slide also, I would just say that fall within the same category. That's demonstrative, that's not evidence. That was a title provided by the witness in the exhibit. We'll also provide an explicit jury instruction on demonstrative exhibits, further explaining that to the jurors before they
That's a really good
deliberate,
idea.
so they understand how to consider this evidence. So I appreciate you bringing that to my concern as well. And with that, Ms. Blake, essentially any of those highlighted blue titles, I think, are just, they're demonstrative, and that's how we'll instruct that those are not to be considered as evidence, the highlighted blue titles, but the content may be considered by the jurors. So with that, Exhibit 184B then is admitted over the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. You've already talked a little bit about this, but as you went through and you compiled the James and Elena story, did you also compare it to other information?
I did.
And as part of your role in the
Easy.
investigation, did you
Welcome.
review additional things other than phone data or iCloud data?
Yes.
Did you also discuss the case with other investigators, agents, detectives, officers?
I did.
In looking through, and I think you've already said this, but you were trying to attribute or determine if there was correlation between things happening in real life and what you were seeing in the James and Elena story. Is that correct?
That's correct.
As part of that, did you end up finding something regarding when James and Elena met with what was corresponding with Lori and Chad?
I did.
What did you discover?
In the James and Elena story, it begins on October 26th, and there are multiple mentions of October 26th at a conference in St. George, Utah. There is evidence that shows that Chad Daybell was a speaker at a conference in St. George, Utah on October 26th. There is a photograph of Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, Melanie Gibbs, and Zulema Pastenas in the iCloud account that was texted from Melanie Gibb to a group text days after this conference. And Melanie Gibb and has mentioned that that was the first time that Chad and Lori had met.
So the James and Elena story specifically references James and Elena also meeting on October 26th.
Yes, and they were introduced by a friend, MG, in the story.
And Your Honor, I had asked to be handed State's Exhibit 53A. It has already been admitted. I can have it showed to defense.
It can be published.
It can be published.
Well, I'm sorry,
After
you
showing
can with
it.
the defense and make sure it's what they believe it is that's admitted.
Good day and welcome to Crime Talk, the most unbiased.
Yeah, email it to me so I have it in my email. Oh, and something else we're doing
And when you talk about a photo
history
being
book.
discovered,
Tell
is
you all
this the
about
photo
that.
you're referencing?
It is.
And it's going to be so fun.
And this photo was taken from what you discovered through the investigation to be Chad and Lori's first meeting.
Well, I don't know if it's the first meeting, but within those days, yes, those initial days.
During that October 26th conference.
Given the date that this was sent, I suggest that's when that would have happened.
Did you discover anything regarding searches completed by the character James and corresponding events with Chad?
Yes, in the James and Elena story, James Google searches Elena right about the same time that they first meet, and that is consistent with Chad Googling a Lori on October 26th of 2018.
And the only difference being in the story, it was a few days later than October 26th.
It was, I think it was a day or two later, yes.
But James searches Elena and Chad searches Lori.
Correct.
Did you notice anything regarding the mention of a novel?
Yes.
And what was that?
In the story, James mentions that he had authored a novel titled The Renewed Earth. Chad Daybell, as an author, it has a novel titled The Renewed Earth.
Joy, Bobby.
Did you discover anything about events attended later by James and Elena, and then that corresponded with events attended by Chad and Lori?
Yes.
And what was that?
The next event would be in November 2018, around the 16th and 17th. They, again, in the story, attend a conference, and this time in Arizona. There is also a corresponding Preparing People conference in Arizona on October 16th and 17th, again, where Chad's a speaker. They also have temple records that show that Chad and Lori both visited the temple on the same date or within the same minutes. They log into the temple. And in that same story, they talk about in this November trip that they attended the temple together. Additionally, there were statements in the story that said Lori invited her friends and other conference attendees to stay at her residence during that time frame. And her friends have, in statements made in interviews that I've read, have made statements that occurred, including Chad Daybell. And in the story, James was offered to stay at Elena's residence during the conference.
So both James and Chad traveled to a conference in November.
Correct.
And both James and Chad go to the temple with Lori and Elena.
Correct.
And that's reflected in temple records?
That's correct.
And it would have been around the same time that James and Elena had gone to the temple in the story.
It says mid-November. I don't believe that one had specific dates like the first one does. It says mid-November, and in the Chad and Lori timeline, it's November 16th, 17th. So that would track with what's going on in James and Elena.
And then you also indicated Lori had invited friends to stay at her house.
Correct.
And Elena had invited friends to stay at her house.
Correct.
And Elena, James stays at the residence.
Yes.
And Chad stayed at Lori's residence.
Correct.
As you were going through this and you were finding these things at that meeting in November in the story, did you put that into was there also a description of
presentation?
intimate interactions between between James and Elena?
There were.
Did you discover anything regarding travel that Elena did that corresponded with travel Lori did?
Yes.
And what was that?
In April of 2019, it states that in the story that Elena visits James for the first time in Idaho. We have flight records, we have her, Lori, I'm sorry, we have flight records and bank statements for Lori that indicate she flew from Arizona to Idaho in April of 2019 and stayed in a hotel.
Did you also review some of the messages contained in the iCloud account outside of the James and Elena?
Yes.
Did you also review a message from Chad indicating something about a trip to Rexburg?
Yes.
And so again, Elena travels to James' hometown,
Correct.
or the area of his hometown, and Lori traveled to Idaho Falls.
Correct.
And for those not from the area, do you know approximately how far Idaho Falls would be from the Rexburg, Salem area?
Roughly an hour and a half.
Could it be even shorter than
It
that?
could be shorter. I'm not.
You're not
over there.
from that area either, right?
Roughly an hour.
Could it be even like a 30, 40 minute drive?
To her leading the witnesses to how far one place is to another.
That's the standard stating.
So Lori and Elena travel
Can you
around the
tell
same
us a
time.
little bit about how that was
In
recovered?
that story,
as far
was there
as
also some
what
description of
type
intimate
format you
interaction
found
between James
that
and
story
Elena during
in?
that trip?
It was in a combination of emails.
Did you review anything regarding a podcast in the James and Elena story?
Yes.
And what was that?
There was a portion of a story that indicated that James travels to Arizona to participate in a podcast that Lori and her friends were a part of.
And did you discover anything regarding, and did you indicate you discovered anything regarding Chad's travel?
Yes, there is a travel in January of 2019 that Chad travels to Arizona based on flight records. And there was a podcast posted.
Did y'all hear that? I
online,
thought it was me. I thought it was my
in
headphones.
January of 2019. That is, I don't remember the exact title, but something along the lines of Chad Daybell participates in a podcast about his life and experiences with Lori and other podcast members.
And that would have been around the same time as described in the James and Elena story? Or the James?
That portion was in the notes section, if I recall correctly. And there was no date and time stamp on that to attribute to a certain time.
And during that, in the James and Elena story, during the time the podcast occurs, was there a description of intimate interaction between James and Elena?
Yes.
Okay, I heard it too, and I thought it was something. I thought it was just me, but I don't have anything else open on my screen, so I'm not really sure.
And again, as part of your investigation or your review of this data, you also looked at messages contained in iCloud accounts.
Yes.
Did you look at messages that were
It's
between
the
Chad and
portal.
Lori?
Yes.
Definitely the portal.
And Your Honor, if I may have just a moment.
You may.
And do you believe if you were shown those messages, you would recognize them?
Yes.
And Your Honor, the iCloud accounts have already been admitted in their entirety. I intend to pull up a few of those through Cellbrite and would ask permission to publish them.
All right. Has the defense been demonstrated what would be published?
I don't believe they've been shown the exact images. I did refer them to a report that contains those same messages in an extracted format. I have that in front of me that I can show them or have shown to them.
If they'd like to view those before publishing, I'll allow that either to have counsel just walk over there and see what's on there before it's published, or if it's in a paper copy that can be delivered.
The John Thomas. I'm going to miss the John Thomas stuff on whatever trial I do next. I won't miss him. I'm just making fun of him.
And Your Honor, just prior to publishing, I was going, I understand there's an order from the court regarding the publishing of the James and Elena. I was going to ask that the witness be handed a copy of her report. I've just shown it to defense counsel. I was going to ask her to read just from the phone extractions, a couple lines that would give context to the messages we're going to display. And I can have her indicate on the record what she's reading as far as date, time, who and from received.
All right. Any objection from the defense?
Just we renew the previous objections.
Very well. The court will overrule those previous
Yay.
objections based on the foundation laid as the witness indicating this will correspond to actual events. So the court will allow this, which was previously admitted, I'll note also, in the form that's been suggested by the prosecutor.
And Your Honor, just to clarify, it's my understanding states Exhibit 184B was admitted.
It was.
And I just had the witness handed a document. Do you recognize that?
I do.
Is that a portion of a report that you created?
It is.
And if you go to the bottom of that, there is a timestamp and there's an indication of a to and from. Could you read the timestamp and indicate to who the message was sent and who it was from?
The timestamp was August 9th, 2019 at 9:29:47 p.m. It is a text message from Chad to Lori.
And if you would just read the last two sentences of that.
He kissed her deeply as their breathing slowed. They entwined their bodies and held each other tightly before soon beginning another powerful round of pleasurable bonding.
And then, Your Honor, I'm asking now to display some of the messages that were recovered from those iCloud accounts.
They can be published.
This is the loin fire cover in case y'all missed it.
Can you see that on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
And can you indicate to who and from that message was sent?
Since these were recovered from the iCloud, from owner would be Lori's iCloud, to Bubby, which was attributed to Chad Daybell on, again, August 9th, 2019.
And was it close in time to that last message?
Yes, the last message was 9:29:47 p.m. and this is 9:36:03 p.m.
And can you read what the message says?
with the emoji.
She said
Yes.
with the emojis.
That is pretty incredible. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. The fire is definitely burning. The memories. Hearts, hearts, hearts. I miss you way too much. You have to stop or I might explode.
And then if we go to the next message. Do you recognize this message?
Yes.
And can you indicate who it was sent from and who it was sent to?
Again, from owner would be Lori's iCloud account to the Bubby 515 number attributed to Chad.
And can you read that message into the record?
The intensity of each encounter in my mind, one greater than the last. Oh my. Fire emoji, especially this last one. I've never loved you more. Heart emoji. It just keeps growing. Kiss emoji.
Blech.
And then if we go to the next one. Can you indicate who this was sent from, who it was sent to, and then read it into the record?
It was sent from the Bubby 515 number attributed to Chad to the iCloud's owner, Lori. I completely agree. We were definitely in new territory in your bedroom.
And then the next one.
I'd be so embarrassed. Blech.
And can you indicate the date and time, who the sender was and who it was sent to?
From the 515 Bubby attributed to Chad to the iCloud owner, Lori.
And can you read into the record the message?
Elena's magic hand has gripped the storm, and they stare into each other's eyes, barely able to breathe as intense waves wash over them.
And then the next message. Can you indicate who the sender was, who it was sent to, and then read it into the record?
From the iCloud owner, Lori, to 515 Bubby attributed to Chad. The text content was, yes, she did.
Did that appear to be in response to the previous message from Chad?
It did.
And then I think there's some additional text in between, but if we skip down, I think it was line 1033. Can you indicate who that was sent from, who it was sent to, and the date?
From the
Sure,
Bubby
did I miss
515
one?
attributed to Chad to the iCloud
Why
owner
can't I
attributed
see?
to Lori. The text says, I love you, Elena. What a wonderful chemistry we share. Fire emoji, fire emoji.
And then if you could read 1032, if you can actually indicate who it was sent from, who to, and then read it into the record.
From iCloud owner, Lori, to Bubby 515 number
Thank you,
attributed to
thank
Chad.
you.
I love you more. That's so hot. I just need you now more than ever. I'm sorry. I just need you more than ever. Heart emoji, heart emoji.
And then line
Thank you,
1031,
thank
can you
you.
indicate who it's from, who it's to, and the date?
From the 515 Bubby number attributed to Chad to iCloud owner, Lori. You are amazing. Please save that segment. I want to read it with you naked, then relive it all.
And in your review of those messages, did they appear to reference and correspond with the James and Elena, the characters?
They did.
Was there indication in there that the events in James and Elena were occurring in real life?
It appeared to, yes.
If I may have just a moment.
Thank you for the gifted memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, mods, for letting me know because I, for whatever reason, can't see on here. Thank you so much. Something's on fire. Not cute. Not a cute look. The emojis
As you were
make it
reviewing the
funny,
James and
though.
Elena story, were there other things that stood out to you?
Yeah, there were.
What were some of those things?
There appeared to be some planning of missions and planning of their life together as a couple.
And did that appear to correspond with events occurring with Chad and Lori?
Yes.
And Your Honor, I think we had discussed taking a brief break at about this point. I don't know if we want to have a sidebar, but
Okay, let's have a quick sidebar.
Sidebar. The emojis, reading the emojis are what make it so gross, but also really funny. It's kind of like when you give us like a super chat, you know, like how RAs will read it out loud and
All right,
it
at this
reads
point,
the
then, counsel
emojis.
had
It's
discussed with the court
hilarious.
that there
That's
would
what
be
it sounds like.
potential objection coming up that would be best argued outside the presence of the jurors. So we'll take that up at this point. We will allow for the jurors to be excused from the courtroom while we tend to that issue. Once we've concluded the issue, then the jurors can be returned and we can continue with testimony from this witness.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, Laura. Hello, hello.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Hello. We haven't been going very long. She's questioning.
All right, at this point, I understand the state wants to introduce an
Nicole
exhibit. We
Heidemann
previously
again.
did discuss this exhibit yesterday in a ruling. The court had issues with this proposed timeline. The state's now submitted for court's review an altered version of that exhibit. I believe the defense has seen it. At this point, has it been marked with a proposed number? Ms. Blake?
And Your Honor, before we get into the introduction of that, the state was going to ask if we could have just a brief recess to allow the state to confer as a team.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. Let me know when you're ready to argue the issue.
Thank you.
Oh, dang.
All right. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we're back on the record. Ms. Blake, what's the status of your proposed exhibit?
Your Honor, the state is not going to be admitting that at this time.
All right, will you be continuing with direct examination then?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I think in order for the jurors to track, it would be best if you indicated that once they're returned that you've concluded with your direct examination, and we'll confirm that, and then we'll allow for cross after that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we'll have the jurors brought back in, please. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, when we took that break, we were in direct examination. Ms. Blake, your witness, do you have any additional direct examination?
So again, as you were compiling and pulling the messages related to James and Elena, did you, in your opinion, did it mirror events occurring in real life with Chad and Lori?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blake. Cross-examination?
Your Honor, we have no questions.
All right, with no cross-examination, then that will conclude the testimony of this witness. Can the witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor, we would ask that she be released.
Any objections?
No objection.
All right, thank you for your appearance this morning. The bailiff will help assist you out of the courtroom.
Oh.
State can call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state would call Investigator Edwards.
All right.
Hey, Dean Sparks. Hello, hello. Yes, that witness is like, thank God I don't have to read any more emojis or weirdness.
Great, thanks. Okay, now that the witness has been sworn, let me just inquire before we start with testimony. Have you, addressing Mr. Edwards, have you in any way observed any of the trial testimony, either by reading it or listening to it or observing it in any courtroom?
No, Your Honor.
Hey, Geraldine.
All right, with that in mind, Ms. Blake, you can inquire on direct. I'll just advise the witness, please talk right into that microphone. Please avoid talking at the same time as anyone asking you a question so we keep a clear record, and use verbal responses to any questions. Ms. Blake, you can inquire on direct.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Nicholas Edwards, Nicholas. Edwards is Edwards.
Where are you currently employed?
I am currently deployed with the military, so I'm actually employed with the United States
Yay.
Army right now.
Do you have other employment as well?
I do.
And what is that?
So when I'm not on military orders, I am the lead investigator at the Idaho Office of the Attorney General
How long have you been with the Armed Forces?
since 1999.
And how long have you been with the Attorney General's office?
I was hired with the Attorney General's office in 2019.
At that time, did you become an investigator with them?
I did.
Do you have prior employment in law enforcement?
I do. I was hired by the Pocatello Police Department in 2004. I worked there as a police officer and a detective and a commander over their SWAT team until 2019. I took employment as a law enforcement officer at the Idaho Office of the Attorney General in 2019.
Do you have any specialized training in order to be a peace officer?
I do. I have a Idaho Peace Officer Standards and Training Certificate. I have a basic, intermediate, and advanced master and supervisory certificate. I hold Idaho Post instructor certificates in a variety of topics to include SWAT tactics, sniper observer tactics, law enforcement response to active shooter. I hold instructor certificates for ALERT, which is advanced law enforcement rapid response training. I've been through approximately 3,000 hours of Idaho Post law enforcement training and have hundreds of hours of instructor time teaching law enforcement tactics to include advanced interview and interrogation courses, advanced investigation courses. So,
In your work, have you investigated homicides and or unattended deaths?
I have.
Do you generally gather information regarding the victim?
I do.
And why do you gather that information?
It's important as an investigator to understand the bigger picture, to understand a full understanding of what's happened. So understanding people around a victim, closest to them, past history, all of those things.
At some point, did you become involved in an investigation regarding the death of Tammy Daybell?
I did.
When did you become involved in that investigation?
Our office was asked to assist in the investigation of Tammy Daybell's death in April of 2020.
Had you heard of Tamara or Tammy Daybell prior to that?
Not really. A little bit on the news about the case overall, but not directly about Tammy.
When you became involved, were you aware if there were other active investigations being conducted that were related?
I was.
What were those investigations?
So when we got asked to help with the investigation, we at the Attorney General's office were aware that the FBI was involved, Rexburg City, Madison County. There were other law enforcement agencies outside of Idaho as well, in Arizona, that were investigating the death of Charles Vallow and two missing children, JJ and Tylee.
Would it be fair to say that you also assisted or became involved in the investigation regarding the missing children?
Yes,
Would it be fair to say that this became a joint investigation?
absolutely.
And we talked a little bit about you gathering background information on a victim. Did you end up doing that when you became involved in the investigation into Tammy Daybell's death?
I did.
What did you learn about Tammy?
I learned that Tammy was married to Chad Daybell, and they had been raised in Utah. They had lived there together. They had 5 children, and that they moved to Fremont County, Idaho in 2015.
Did you learn what Tammy did for employment?
After they moved to Idaho, she was working at an elementary school in Fremont County as a librarian and a technology specialist.
Through your investigation, did you learn who Chad Daybell was?
I did.
And who is Chad Daybell in relation to the investigation?
Chad Daybell is the spouse of Tamara Daybell.
Did you learn who he later married?
I did.
And who was that?
Lori Vallow.
Did you learn anything else about Lori Vallow in regards to the investigation?
I did a number of things. One of those was that she had a brother named Alex Cox, and was previously married to Charles Vallow.
And at some point in your investigation, did you learn of Charles being killed?
I did.
Do you know when he was killed?
In July of 2019.
And do you know who was alleged to have shot him? Or who
Alex
did shoot him?
Cox.
Did you learn of a connection between Chad and Alex Cox?
I did.
What was that connection?
Lori was the connection between Alex Cox and Chad Daybell.
Prior to Charles being killed, did you learn anything regarding divorce proceedings between he and Lori?
Between Charles and Lori?
Charles and Lori.
Yes, they had initiated a divorce
Sorry.
in February of 2019.
So prior to just the February prior to Charles being killed, there were some divorce proceedings initiated?
Correct.
Did you learn anything in your investigation regarding any divorce proceedings between Tammy and Chad?
No.
Were there any divorce proceedings between Tammy and Chad?
No.
As part of your investigation, did you review various phone extractions, the data obtained from them, or other documents?
I did.
Did you also speak with other officers, detectives, or investigators?
Yes.
Did you, through your investigation, I am missing one slide, just a moment.
We have the best mods ever. Best ever.
Through your investigation, did you review some messages between Chad and Lori in early October?
I did.
Did you also learn of a trip Tammy took to Utah?
I did.
Do you know when that trip was taken?
October 4th and 5th of 2019.
Through your investigation, did you learn why Tammy had taken that trip?
She'd been urged by Chad to take that trip to see her parents in Utah.
And Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be shown State's Exhibit 184F.
So he's going to go over some of the stuff that happened along the timeline. So I'll try to zoom in so we can follow along with
Counsel, can we keep a
what
copy?
these nut jobs we're doing.
Can we keep a copy of this?
Yes, sorry, there is a copy for defense, the court, a courtesy copy for Your Honor as well. Yes, if you would please look at that. Do you recognize the contents on that page?
I do.
And did you in fact prepare that?
I did.
Does that appear to contain messages that you had looked at in regards to your investigation?
They are, yes.
Your Honor, I would ask for the admission of State's 184F.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 184F is admitted.
And Your Honor, I would ask for permission to publish that.
You may publish it.
Oh, Knoxville. Let me see if I can keep on. Yes, we have some new faces in here tonight and some new members.
Can you see those on the screen in front of you?
I can.
Could you indicate the date, who the message was sent from, and to whom, and read the messages into the record?
The top message was October 3rd, 2019 from Chad to Lori. Perfect.
I'll never check the weather again.
I know the light's on this, but can you see it on the screen in front of you?
I can, yeah.
And if you could indicate again the date and time, who the message was from, who it was sent to, and then read them into the record.
Okay. The top message, October 3rd, 2019 from Chad to Lori, 21:31 hours. quote, "Good night, Angel Lily. So excited to go on our date." And then there's a fire emoji.
And then
Second,
next one.
okay. October 4th, 2019, text from Chad to Lori at, I think that says 0420 hours. Dreaming of caressing you in your bed. I adore you and Sholo you. Heart and fire emoji. October 4th through the 5th, 2019, Chad had urged Tammy to visit her family in Springfield, Utah.
So these messages would have been sent just prior to that trip to Utah.
Correct.
And those were in early October. Was there another date in October a little later that you focused on?
I did.
What date was that?
There was an attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell on October 9th, 2019.
And again, that had occurred prior to you becoming involved in the investigation, correct?
It had.
Why did you end up looking into that date and information surrounding it?
Because subsequently she was killed 10 days after that on October 19th.
Did you review with other investigators cast data?
I did.
Did you look at that data yourself as well?
I did.
Did you look at anything with regard to the whereabouts of a device linked to Homer J. Maximus and subsequently linked to Alex Cox?
Yes.
And on October 9th, do you recall anything that stood out to you with regard to that device?
Yes.
And what was that?
The movements attached to that device were actually observed going down to the Sportsman's Warehouse in the middle of the day on October 9th in Idaho Falls. And then shortly after that, they moved north and drove past the Daybell residence twice.
Through your investigation, did you find any link between Tammy Daybell and Alex Cox?
No.
Any indication that they knew each other?
None.
Tammy was married to Chad.
Nice,
Correct.
Mika.
Chad knew Alex through Lori.
Correct.
Was that the only connection?
It's the only connection I could find.
As part of your investigation, did you also review cell phone data and or iCloud data or other data surrounding contact between specific individuals on October 9th to October 10th
You
of
say your
2019?
wife is stalking you.
And Your Honor, I'm going to ask that the witness be shown State's Exhibit 184C.
Get him, Cajun Kate. Thank you, Adrian. We'll see you. We're going to have our first marital fight in here. You'd be nice occasion, Kate. Stalking you. Jeez. Kelly, Bebby, I can't talk. One of our members was in there today.
I could
I
look at
think
this.
she's still in here right now.
Yes,
We
would you
can
please look at that?
ask.
And do you recognize what's on that slide in front of
She's been
you?
in
I
there.
do.
And is that in fact a document created by you or that you assisted in creating?
Yes, I created this.
Would that aid in your testimony today?
It would.
And Your Honor, I would move for the admission. And I just handed my copies with the number on it.
It's 184C.
I would move for the admission of
Hi, Eddie.
184C.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, we believe it's to be cumulative, and this is just a rehash of things that have already been said by other people.
What's the response on that, Ms. Blake?
Your Honor, the response on that, and I don't know if the court wants me to go into all of it.
Just briefly, it's a cumulative objection.
The state's position would be that this is not cumulative. I think the standard for that is needlessly. The court reiterated yesterday some case law regarding summary, the approval of summary witnesses, in addition to the fact of some of the cross-examination that has taken place. I think this is allowable. I would also indicate that the state's position would be this is not cumulative and it is not needlessly cumulative specifically.
All right, upon review of Exhibit 184C, the court would determine it can be allowed as a demonstrative exhibit, not as evidence.
Your Honor, given the last question, may I have voir dire native an objection?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. You've indicated that the state asked you if you prepared this or if you helped prepare this. Is that correct?
Yes,
Did you prepare it?
I did.
Did you help to prepare it?
I prepared this in front of me.
You prepared that yourself?
Yes.
No help?
No help.
Gosh.
Okay, no objection, Judge.
Okay, so 184C, is admitted. Again, this is the work of the witness here as a summary, so it's a demonstrative exhibit. It's not evidence. We'll instruct the jurors to that effect, both now and in the jury instructions.
And I would ask permission to publish, Your Honor.
You can publish.
I don't like his voice, but I mostly don't like how condescending he is. Or his voice, or the way he breathes, or the way he eats the microphone. Knitting addict. Sit down, John Thomas. Yes. We don't like him. Maybe he's a wonderful man outside of this trial. But inside this trial, he's a condescending butthead. Yes.
And Your Honor, this is not wanting to cooperate, so I'm just going to ask that the witness be handed back this exhibit.
James. Yes, ma'am. I normally mute my microphone, but I forgot. My bad. Yes, I'm drinking. Thank you so much. They helped me. Oh, to those of y'all that are late, I got my Lucy cup in, my Lucy wine glass.
And Your Honor, I just verified with defense counsel. I do have a copy of it on my laptop. I don't believe counsel will have an objection to me publishing it from the laptop.
Very well. If there's no objection, then it can be published from that source.
It's my understanding it's exactly the same as what the paper shows.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomas.
That's true. Hello, Mr. Steve. How are you? Yes. You have to deal with the loin fire.
And it may not want to play off of this either, so I'll just ask the witness be handed back that exhibit.
Very well.
Thank you.
Y'all check out True Crime Lab.
On that document, there's a breakdown of some messages between some individuals. Can you indicate what it was that stood out to you about the contact between who the individuals were and what stood out to you about that contact on October 9th to October 10th?
So this breakdown shows there were 90 calls and text messages between Alex, Chad, Zulema, and Lori between 9:12 a.m. on the 9th and 2:28 in the morning on the morning of the 10th. Then I broke that down a little further in this. There were 8 text messages between Alex and Chad between 1:19 p.m. to 1:22 p.m. Alex, Cox, and Chad Daybell's phone devices were at or near each other between 1:22 p.m. and 2:20 p.m. There were then 15 text messages between Alex and Chad between 7:13 p.m. and 8:43 p.m. And then the attempted shooting occurred between 9:15 p.m. and 9:25 p.m. And then the last block was 4 messages between Alex and Chad between 10:28 p.m. and 10:29 p.m. on the night of the 9th.
Thank you, Mary Kay. JT didn't talk like this.
Did you review messages and calls on dates other than October 9th to October 10th?
I did.
Did the number of calls that were occurring between these dates stand out to you?
It did.
And why was that?
There were significantly more during this date.
And Your Honor, could we have a brief sidebar?
Yes.
Every time y'all put that in chat, this loin is on fire, I have to sing it in my head.
All right, the state's
did that
requested an
comment
opportunity
just go?
to take a look at the tech they need for this witness, and we'll take a mid-morning recess to allow them time to try to sort that out. So at this point, we'll go ahead and take a morning break.
I saw a comment, I don't see it now, about if they're spree killers or serial killers, but I think the difference is like they call it like the cooling off period. So since these things were spread out, that would make them serial killers, I think. Hi, Minnie Pearl. Hello, hello.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Hi.
All right, Ms. Blake, were you able to sort out the issue with the technology?
I believe we figured it out. I think they brought in a new Elmo.
Okay, great.
And I maybe would indicate now, and I can put this on the record once the jurors are here, but I did on the break, I did ask to be handed a few exhibits that had previously been admitted. I can wait till the jury comes back in if you want, but I just wanted to know, let the court know that we had asked to be handed a couple exhibits.
Okay, let's wait till the jurors are brought in, please. So let's go ahead and have the jurors brought in.
This one never got amended.
I actually don't know what the time frame is considered for a cooling off period. I'd have to look it up. I think they have like a whole thing on the FBI website about the difference and all that, because I remember reading it a while back, but I don't know what the cooling off period is. I just remember that for a spree killer, there's no cooling off period. It's all
thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated.
like a shebang going across country doing whatever, that type thing.
We're going back on the record. Case
Oh, there you go.
22-21-164,
Steve
State of Idaho versus Noreen Vallow. We just concluded morning break. The court would note the jurors are all present and properly seated, as is counsel and the defendant. Ms. Blake, if you'd like to continue with your direct examination, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I believe we have the tech issues fixed. If I could publish 184C.
Yes, that was admitted. You may.
And just for the benefit of the jury, now that we have this in front of us, what are we seeing on this slide?
So this was the breakdown slide that I created with the 90 calls and text messages between Alex, Chad, Zulema, and Lori, and then specifically broke down between who was talking to who, and also where those electronic devices were located at a certain time. The attempted shooting, the second one from the bottom, that occurred between 9:15 and 9:25, and then 4 additional text messages between Alex and Chad between 10:28 p.m. and 10:29 p.m.
And again, this was a summary of your review of those, so not all 90 calls or texts are reflected on this.
Correct.
And again, was the 90 calls / text messages between those individuals a significant amount from your review of the records?
Yes.
Yes. Steve does great. He helps us out. Me too. It's like Christmas. As much work as we put into the graphics to make this bearable.
And as part of your investigation into the attempted or surrounding the attempted shooting, as part of the homicide investigation, did you end up actually traveling up to the Daybell property?
I did.
And Your Honor, I have previously admitted States Exhibit 10A and 10B. I don't know that the defense has been shown those recently. If I could have those shown to defense.
Yes.
Yes, I will be streaming it live. We've come too far to quit now.
Yes, and Your Honor, where those have already been admitted, I would ask to be allowed to publish those.
Any objection? They may be published.
Are you able to recognize what residence this photo is depicting?
That is the Daybell residence.
And Your Honor, for the record, that is States Exhibit 10B.
Okay.
You personally went up to this residence?
I did.
Your Honor, I've just published State's Exhibit 10A. Investigator Edwards, can you tell us what we're seeing here?
That is an overhead photo of the Daybell property, with the front of the residence being to the left where that car is. I don't know if this works. Try this right there. That would be the front of the residence from the previous photo you just showed, the Daybell property.
And through your investigation, did you look into or learn where Tammy really parked? Where was that?
Typically, I learned that she would come to the property and come down the long driveway, which is on this side of the property here. That she would park in what I call the back of the residence and then enter through a back door on that side of the property.
On the night of the attempted shooting, did you learn that she did something different?
She did. She parked in the front of the residence, the picture you just had shown.
Oh, read over. Let me scroll up.
And did you learn through your investigation that she would have parked similar to how that vehicle is parked?
Yes.
I think I did that today. I went on the courthouse thing and
Through your investigation, did you become aware of some firearms that were recovered during a search of an apartment associated with Alex Cox?
I did.
Did you ever personally observe those firearms?
I did.
Your Honor, I've been handed State's Exhibit 281B. It was previously admitted. I'd shown that to defense counsel during the break. I don't know if they want to see it again, but I would ask to be allowed to publish it.
Any objection to publishing it?
No, Your Honor.
It can be published.
oh my gosh, if you missed that, it's a cheesy romance novel.
From your review of those firearms, were there any that stood out
Chad
to you?
wrote for Lori.
Yes, the black firearm that you're seeing there is the 6.5 millimeter Grendel.
Are you familiar with those?
I am.
Are you familiar with firearms in general?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your familiarity with firearms and specifically ARs?
I've used one both in the military and in law enforcement for the better part of 20 years. This particular Grendel is a 6.5 millimeter. Typically, we use 223s, a little bit different, but same platform style.
Have you done any kind of trainings or taught other individuals anything with regard to shooting?
Yes, I'm a certified sniper server instructor for Post. I've been through a lot of long distance sniper courses and have trained students in precision riflemen.
And through your investigation, did you learn what type of firearm was reported, excuse me, to have been pointed at and or shot at Tammy Daybell?
It was reported that it was possibly a paintball gun.
Do you have experience with paintball guns?
I do.
What is your experience with paintball guns?
We use paintball guns in law enforcement and military training as well all the time. Very similar to something like this, AR style platform, paintball guns.
And in your training and experience, do you believe that the paintball gun and an AR can resemble each other?
They could.
And could you explain a little bit about that?
Well, I guess the base of the weapon might look similar, and the hopper that generally sits on top or where you feed the paintballs could be mistaken for a scope.
And could they be mistaken by someone that doesn't have experience with firearms?
I believe they
I'm
could.
going to object as this is speculative. She's now generalizing.
This is sustained as speculative. Move to strike, or I'm sorry, the answer will be stricken.
Thank you.
As part of your investigation, did you also review an email that had been sent from Tammy to her son, Mark?
I did.
And do you recall in that email that she had referenced individuals in the neighborhood having some theories about who may have been the attempted shooter?
Yes,
Did you follow up on some of those reports?
I did.
And what did you do?
I actually contacted, excuse me, the neighbor directly south, spoke with them about paintball guns, kids in the area. One of the neighbors reported to me that there was kids that wanted to do a paintballing
I'm going to
activity.
object as this is hearsay.
Sustained.
Did you learn anything with regard to whether or not individuals in the neighborhood or juveniles in the neighborhood tended to own paintball guns?
Yes,
What did you learn?
they did not have any.
When you conduct an investigation, do you go where the evidence takes you?
Yes,
And as you did some follow-up, did that change the course of your investigation?
no,
Did you do additional follow-up regarding that attempted shooting?
yes.
And what was that?
I talked to a number of people in the area, neighbors, reviewing the reports, evidence that I received.
As part of your investigation, did you review some searches associated with a Homer J. Maximus account?
I did.
Were there any of those searches that stood out to you?
There were.
What were some of those?
On October 8th, there was a search for Grendel 6.5 Grendel drop from 100 to 300 yards.
And why would that stand out to you?
based on my training and experience, what they're searching for, the searcher's looking for drop, which has to do with trajectory of the bullet being fired from a Grendel and what that bullet does from 100 to 300 yards. As the bullets, the further you go back, they drop.
And when you talk about the drop, is the ending point of that drop where it would hit the target?
Correct.
So if you're searching for a drop, you're trying to figure out how far you can shoot and hit the target.
Yes, and you're really looking to see what kind of adjustment you need to make on a scope to compensate for the drop is what you're looking for.
And in the firearms recovered from the apartment associated with Alexander Cox, were there scopes recovered?
There were.
And can you describe the different parts of this firearm?
You've got the upper and lower
Gentlemen
receiver.
object, there's two firearms there.
The lower firearm.
You may answer.
Okay. The lower firearm, the black firearm, it's got an upper and a lower receiver on that weapon. It's actually connected with two pins, and then it's got a scope on top.
And the scope is what would be adjusted for the drop.
Correct.
As part of your investigation, did you also look into phone calls made surrounding the time of the attempted shooting between others than Zulema, Alex, Lori, and Chad?
I did.
And Your Honor, I will ask that the witness be shown State's Exhibit 184D.
A little over an hour, like an hour and 10 minutes left.
I assume I can keep a copy.
Yes.
Counsel.
Yes. Do you recognize what's contained on this page?
I do.
And did you in fact create this?
I did.
And is it a timeline from October 9th of 2019?
It is.
Is it containing a timeline for specific times?
Yes.
And what are those times?
So it has times, but text message times are in there between individuals, Chad and Lori, Alex and Chad. There's also a time in there that a casting was being conducted between Lori and Zulema. There's an attempted shooting time on there. There's a time when Emma, who had been Tammy's
Yeah,
daughter.
this has not been admitted into evidence. He's just reading from it. I'm going to object.
Sustained.
Did you create this in preparation for your testimony today?
I did.
And is it a summary of some of the events and messages and phone data that you reviewed?
Yes,
And would it aid in your testimony today?
it would.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of this exhibit.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe it contains hearsay, not within any exception. He also testified that it contained some of it he had reviewed himself, and so I'm going to object to that on those grounds.
Your Honor, and I would indicate that it is just for demonstrative purposes and to aid in his testimony, not necessarily, it wouldn't be going for the truth of the matter of anything regarding what defense counsel's alleging is hearsay. It would be for what he does in his investigation.
Prepping for murder. That's what he was doing, Laura Ferris. Prepping.
All right, the court's considered the
murder.
objections lodged as well as the response from the state. Exhibit 184D will be admitted for demonstrative purposes only, not as evidence for the jurors to consider, and they'll be instructed of the limited nature of that particular exhibit, and the objections overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would allow permission to publish.
You can publish it.
Ooh, what if they put the heavy breaths on the court record along with the emojis?
So did you create this timeline based on your investigation
Yes,
and your review?
correct.
Could you take us through what we're seeing here?
So again, the timeline broke down between different events that I felt were pertinent in this. So there were text messages between Chad and Lori, Alex and Chad. Approximately 8:30, there was a casting between Lori and Zulema. You move down 6 text messages between Lori and Zulema. The attempted shooting occurs at 9:15, or approximately. 2 text messages between Chad and Lori. There's a phone call from Emma to her mother, Tammy. And then Joseph Murray, who's Emma's husband, calls 911 at 9:41. Fremont County deputies are dispatched at 9:41, or correction, 9:45. And then Tammy herself calls dispatch at 9:49. Fremont County deputies arrived at 9:52. And then while Fremont County deputies are on scene, Alex and Lori are texting, Chad and Alex are texting, Chad and Lori are texting. Sorry, I will slow down. Arrived on scene. There were text messages between Alex and Lori, Chad and Alex, and Chad and Lori. And then at 10:42, the Fremont County deputy clears. Shortly after, there's a phone call of 38 minutes between Alex and Zulema. and then 3 text messages. Now we're into the night of the 10th, or the morning of the 10th rather, between Zulema and Alex. I apologize.
So after the attempted shooting, you had discovered contact between Alex and Lori,
Yes.
Chad and Alex,
Yes.
and Chad and Lori.
Yes.
And there was a note of a casting being conducted. Through your investigation, did you learn who that casting was being conducted on?
Yes.
Who was that?
Tammy Daybell.
So the casting was being conducted the night of the attempted shooting.
Correct.
Did you locate any additional searches on Homer J. Maximus that stood out in your mind?
I did.
What were some of those?
On the 9th, there was also a search for how to clean an AR and additional searches regarding what a Grindle round or bullet might do through a Dodge Dakota or a windshield and the thickness of a door of a
The Dodge
particular
Dakota.
vehicle.
Why did those stand out to you?
Because the Daybells owned a Dodge Dakota, and so naturally it caught my attention.
And were those searches done around the time of the attempted shooting?
They were.
Well, there you go.
Did you focus on some additional dates in October?
I did.
What dates were those?
The 19th, the 18th, and the 19th.
And why did you focus on those dates?
That was the report. 19th was the reported date of Tammy Daybell.
As part of your investigation surrounding those dates, did you also look at phone data regarding contact between specific individuals?
I did.
Did you look at phone contact between Chad and Lori and Alex?
I did.
Did you also look at some phone contact with Zulema?
Yes.
Have you also reviewed the phone data attributed to Tammy Daybell and or her email account?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness be shown State's Exhibit 184E. And I will indicate there is a copy for counsel, the court, a courtesy copy for Your Honor as well.
All right.
Hi, Brenda. Thank you.
No. we're good.
I missed some people coming in to say hi to.
Do you recognize that page?
I do.
And was that created by you?
It was.
Was that created based on a summary of some of the investigation you did in this case?
Yes,
Did that include review of phone data?
it did.
Was this created as an aid in your testimony today?
It was.
Would it in fact aid in your testimony today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of State's Exhibit
Can I get
184E.
card?
Any objection?
Hi, Dave from Canada.
Just we're going to object to relevancy. It appears that Lori was not, Ms. Daybell was not anywhere in the area and doesn't have anything to do with anything on here.
All right, response from the state?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a review of phone records, not just data location. And so this includes text and or I think it specifically just has the text messages indicated, but those do include messages to and from Lori Vallow.
All right, court's considered the objection. I'll overrule the objection as to relevancy grounds for the reasons indicated by the state as to relevancy that does contain information that may be attributable to the defendant. The exhibit's admitted as an illustrative exhibit. It's not to be considered evidence and will be instructed to the jurors that it is an illustrative exhibit.
And Your Honor, I would request permission to publish.
You can publish it.
And before we go through this, through your investigation, did you learn where Lori Vallow was during October 18th and 19th?
I did.
And where was that?
Why?
Can you take us through what we're seeing on this slide?
This is similar to the other one that I broke this down by text messages that were sent between Chad and Lori at the start at 6:13 p.m. to 8:24 p.m. Text messages between Lori and Alex. Text between Chad and Alex at 8:44. There are 12 text messages between Alex and Lori up until 9:04. Text message Lori to Chad, Alex to Chad, Chad and Lori.
Hey, Strawberry.
11 text messages between Zulema and Lori. And then Alex, his electronic device shows up at 10:07 at an LDS church, approximately 2.6 miles away from the Daybell residence in Fremont County.
And just stopping you there briefly. So Alex's device arrives at the LDS church just down from the Daybell residence at 10:07 p.m.
Correct.
And previously you'd talked about some text messages being exchanged between Lori and Chad, then Alex and Chad and Lori. Those started at 8:52 p.m.
Correct.
and they ended at 9:43 p.m. Is that correct? Or at least that was the last time noted.
For Alex to Chad.
Or for Chad, between Lori, Chad, and Alex, between the three of them.
Correct.
And I guess I should be clear, in varying combinations.
Right. They continue after that time as well, but up to that point, yes.
So Alex's device arrives at the church at 10:07, and then what are we seeing going forward?
There are 4 text messages between Alex and Chad between 10:12 and 10:28. At 10:22, there's Tammy's phone is active and playing games. At 10:23 to 10:54, there are 10 text messages between Alex and Chad. And at 11:28, there's a JPEG that is deleted from Tammy's phone, the JPEG image. At 11:34, there are 2 texts between Chad and Lori. 11:46, Alex's phone is leaving the LDS church parking lot that was 2.6 miles away. And then Alex calls Lori from 11:53 to 12:09, or into the day of the 19th, or into the morning of the 19th. Lori sends Zulema a text at 12:10, and Chad sends Lori a text at 12:35.
And through your investigation, did you learn when Tammy was reported as deceased?
The morning of the 19th,
And do you know who reported that?
Chad Daybell.
Through your investigation, did you learn when Tammy's funeral was held?
I did.
And when was that?
2 days after, 3 days after the 21st of October.
I can make that happen.
And you had reviewed some iCloud data and other data associated with some messages between Chad and Lori.
Boxers with a lightning bolt.
Your Honor, I would ask the witness be shown State's Exhibit 29E. I do have a courtesy copy for court counsel and then a
Yeah,
copy for the
that's
court.
frustrating. Hello. Hello, hello.
Do you recognize those pages?
I do.
And are those pages that were created by you as a summary of some of the data you reviewed?
It is. I created these.
And would they aid in your testimony today?
It would.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of States 184. I think it's F.
You have this marked as 29E.
Oh, excuse me, 29E.
An objection to the admission of 29E.
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit
Good night.
29E is admitted.
And I would ask to be
We
allowed to
cry
publish.
for the kids, but we also laugh a lot at those idiots. So welcome. We laugh a lot at those idiots. And they deserve it. New merch idea. Boxers.
Maybe a little blurry on the overhead projector, but can you see that on your screen?
I can see it.
Could you go ahead and indicate the date those messages were sent and indicate who they are being sent from, who's receiving them, and read them into the record?
Okay. This text chain was October 20th, 2019, between 7:48 and 8:33 in the morning. I put in here that Lori was currently in Hawaii. Lori's, the way this reads is everything on the right side of the screen, right, her name is, and then Chad is on the left. Everything pink would be Lori, and everything in blue would be comments from Chad. Lori starts, "I'm missing you more. I need you desperately. Heart, I can't wait." 2 kiss emojis. "Need you to hold me tight. That would be great. What about the idea of you coming here Thursday or Friday? Or do you want me to come home? Question mark. Chad replies, "Their apartment is haunted and we can't clear the place. So they are looking to move anyway. And I have the perfect place for them. I need to be here to get sorting the financial stuff. And I truly need your help. So please come home Thursday so we can spend the night together. Then as soon as I have things under control, we can return. I seriously want you to look for a condo for us while you are there that we can return to at the first of the month." Lori replies, "I know exactly where we should be. I don't really care where we are as long as you are holding me forever." Hard emoji. "I love," Chad replies, "I want to get going full," I believe it's supposed to be STEM, "on the Lily workout plan. Tighten the abs, get a full body tan, and grow my hair out. This could be really good for both of us." Lori replies, "I love that plan." Kiss emoji. "It's not soon enough though. This is torture. Maybe you need to clear my mind so I can't remember how much I love you." Heart emoji. "I will try. but it feels like Raphael and Lily are together at about 100%. Not sure if this will ever be lower again. Lori replies, that's true. I do feel you. Heart emoji. I feel lovesick. I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. I just want you. It's so consuming. And I think those are sad faces. Chad replies, I know exactly how you feel. I am feeling sad, but it isn't for the reason everyone thinks.
That's such a shit thing to say. For him to say,
Again, these messages are being exchanged the day after Chad reports Tammy
the
deceased.
day after
Yes.
his wife dies, I'm sad, but not because my wife is dead. It's because I miss you, you murderous whore. Sorry. Little annoyed at both of these people. Ugh, gosh, it makes me so mad.
And could you also indicate the date and time on these messages and who they're being sent from, who to, and then read them into the record?
October 20th, 2019, 7:48 to 8:33 a.m. Lori's
The day
still in
after she
Hawaii.
died.
Lori, what's on your agenda today? Chad replies, need to get ready to meet with the mortuary, but I hope to be able to talk in a few hours after I get my parents to go home. I love you so much, my sweet Lily. What time does Audrey arrive? Lori replies, she gets here at 2 my time, so 6 your time. We are going to Sacrament at 9 to see Lisa, hopefully. Kiss emoji, I love you, heart emoji. Chad, I love you most. On October 23rd, 2019 at 8:24, Chad sends Lori a text message. I love you, Lily, eagerly anticipating our alone time, craving you intensely. 3 fire emojis.
And that last message, the 23rd, is sent the day after Tammy's funeral?
Correct.
Was Tammy Daybell's body exhumed?
It was.
Are you aware of the results of the autopsy?
I am.
What were those results?
Homicide by asphyxiation.
Through your investigation, did you learn whether or not Tammy had life insurance?
I did.
And did she?
She did.
Do you know how many policies?
She had 2 policies.
Are you aware through your investigation if those policies paid out?
They both did.
And do you know who the recipient of those was?
Chad Daybell.
Yes.
And do you know when Chad and Lori got married?
I do.
When was that?
November of 2019, November 5th. I believe it's the 5th.
We talked earlier about this being a joint investigation,
It was.
and you were also involved in looking for the missing children.
I was.
As part of your involvement, were you involved in a search of the Daybell property that occurred on June 9th and 10th of 2020?
I was.
Was there someone that was in charge of that scene?
Yes,
Were you assigned specific tasks?
I was.
And Your Honor, I've been handed State's Exhibit 10 and the subsequent parts. I would ask to be able to publish 10F. I'm not sure
Laura,
if
I'll
counsel would
put
like
up
to
a
see that
poll
first.
so we can see.
Yeah. So previously.
I'll do a poll.
Yes, Your Honor, it was previously admitted.
All right. Thank you, Counsel.
And before I publish that, just a couple other questions. Are you aware of the last time Kylie was seen?
Yeah, September 22nd.
Was that Kylie or JJ?
JJ, I apologize. Yeah,
And
September 8th.
And JJ was last seen on September 22nd?
Correct.
And that was of 2019?
Yes.
When you responded out to the search, you said you were assigned a specific task in the search.
I was.
What was your role in that?
I was assigned to search underneath a tree on the north part of the property.
And Your Honor, I would now ask to publish State's Exhibit 10F.
Any objection?
No, no.
It can be published.
Were you given instruction on how to conduct the search?
Yeah.
What instruction were you given?
We were instructed to slowly and methodically look for a very designated spot that we believe that somebody might be.
Did you notice anything regarding the spot where it was believed a body might be?
I did. From the vantage point of standing directly above the tall grass when we first got there, you could see that the contour of the earth was a little bit different. The grass was something had been disturbed in the like, form of a rectangle. You could see that from directly standing above it.
And what actions did you
hit
take
no on
in
the
regards
poll?
to the recovery?
So I began searching with a few other investigators. We cleared away that taller grass. We then slowly and methodically under the direction of the FBI's evidence recovery team peeled that first layer of grass back, exposed some dirt. We went down through the dirt. It exposed some rocks. We were using small tools, brushes, once those rocks were exposed, we removed the rocks. There was more dirt. There were boards, 2 boards, and we removed the boards. There was dirt, and then exposed to my right, as I was kneeling down on my hands, there was what appeared to be shape of maybe a head in a black bag.
And so as part of the search, did you also use your hands?
Yes.
Were you sifting through the dirt and digging with your hands as well?
Yes.
When you talk about seeing the round object or what appeared
There
to be
were
a
a few that
head,
hit the wrong button.
did you observe what was done next?
I did.
What was that?
FBI's lead cut a small hole in the black bag. It exposed a white bag, and he's cut a small hole in the white bag, and it exposed brown blonde hair.
And you were present for that?
I was, and then my experience after that was this flood of emotion that we found in, we found JJ, and thoughts of my own son was the same age.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you, Blake. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
I can't imagine his position to be there and see that and have a son the same age. I can't even imagine that's going to stay with him for the rest of his life. Ooh, it choked me up.
Just trying to make sure I return the exhibits.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Whew.
Morning, Mr. Edwards.
Morning.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Good. So it looks like you first started working in 2004 with the Pocatello Police Department. Is that right?
That is correct.
Did you have any employment before that?
I did. Yeah, I worked, prior to that, I worked for ISU Public Safety. It's campus security for Idaho State University.
Okay, and how long did you do that?
A couple of years, would have been 2002 to 2004, as I was going through school.
You went to school at ISU?
I did.
Did you get a degree?
I have an associate's degree in law enforcement. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I have a master's degree in strategic leadership.
All right, so you got your associate's degree. Did you get that at ISU?
Gosh, here he goes.
And you said you had a bachelor's degree in
Criminal justice.
criminal justice. Yep. Where'd you get that?
American Intercontinental University. I did it online.
And when did you get that degree?
Now, that's a tough question. 2007? I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while ago.
What? So
I have a master's degree as well.
okay. So American Intercontinental, that's an online college.
Yes,
Is it accredited with the?
it is. It's an accredited university.
Okay.
Yep.
And your master's degree, where did you get that?
University of Charleston, West Virginia. Also accredited. I couldn't tell you the year I graduated on that. It's been a couple of years ago.
Sit down, John Thomas.
Is that also an online university?
It's a actual university. It's got a physical campus. I completed it online.
Okay. So you testified that you became involved in the Tammy Daybell case in April of 2020. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And you indicated that Tammy was working at a school as a librarian. Is that right?
A librarian, yes.
And part of your investigation, did you go to that school and talk to anybody there?
I did.
Who'd you talk to?
I'd have to go back. I talked to a number of coworkers of hers. I'd have to look back at my reports. I did a number of reports. I believe there's 26 of my reports out there. The coworkers of hers that had worked with her and Emma.
Mm-hmm. Emma worked there too. You understood that?
That's my understanding. Yes.
Okay.
I hate how he does that. Ugh.
So there was an exhibit, 184C, where you indicated that there were 90 calls and text messages between Alex, Chad, Zulema, and Lori between 9:12 a.m. on October the 9th and 2:28 a.m. on October the 10th. You recall that exhibit?
The one that we talked about creating?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
All right. You indicate that there were 8 text messages between Alex and Chad between 1:19 p.m. and 1:22 p.m.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what those texts were about?
I actually don't know all of the context of each of those text messages and phone calls. We don't have the content for some of them.
So you just saw that there were text messages. You don't know what they were talking about.
Correct.
They could have been talking about going to lunch or going to dinner or Any number of things, right?
Correct.
Okay. You indicated that there was some sort of an attempted shooting at 9:15 p.m. that night?
Yes.
And then there was an email that was shown to you or that you knew about, right?
From Tammy to Mark, is that what
Right.
you're referring to?
Yes. And in there, she brings up the fact that she thinks that it's some kid in the neighborhood, right?
Yes.
That shot at her?
Somebody shot at her.
Right. But she thinks it's a specific kid in the neighborhood, right?
I believe so.
All right. Did you talk to any? You said you talked to a number of neighbors.
I did.
Did you talk to this specific kid that was referenced in this email?
I'm not sure who that specific kid was. It wasn't mentioned.
Okay. Who did you talk to?
Talked to Regan Price, directly south. There were others. Again, there were other people that I interviewed specifically to the paintball question was Regan and Matt Price.
And who's Regan Price?
Their neighbor.
Okay. Approximate age?
That's a dangerous one. Younger than me.
Younger than you.
Younger than me.
You've been a police officer for a number of years.
I have.
You're a professional investigator.
Yep.
I think you could probably gauge someone's age, don't you think?
Late 20s, early 30s.
Late 20s, early 30s. And Matt as well?
Yes.
All right. And they said that nobody in the neighborhood had paint guns.
Not to their knowledge. Matt was a youth teacher or a youth advisor.
Mhm.
Was going to try to coordinate some sort of activity with the kids because the boys wanted to shoot paintballs, but nobody had a paintball gun, was what I was told.
Oh, okay. All right. You were shown a photograph of a 6.5 Grendel, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you actually handle that firearm?
I did.
So you know that it's a fairly heavy firearm.
It is a heavy firearm.
Yeah. A lot heavier than your average paintball gun.
It is.
Yeah. And you said that there was some sort of a search on Grendel drop from 100 to 300 yards.
Correct.
And you thought that that was interesting because Alex owned a Grendel, right?
Yes.
And there was an allegation that Tammy may have been shot at with a paintball gun.
Or
Or
with a
with the
Grendel.
Grindel.
All right. And so you, in the course of your investigation,
Grindel.
you testified that you went out to the house, right?
I did.
All right. You probably asked people, or let me just ask you, did you ask anyone where Tammy was standing and where this masked man was standing?
I did.
All right. And it was, was it more than 100 yards?
No.
No.
It was close.
It was very close.
It was.
And so you've talked about your experience in using assault rifles and the fact that you were on the SWAT team and those kinds of things. And reading the email about Tammy thinking that it was a paintball gun because she heard a click and a whoosh. Is that consistent with someone shooting you at close range with a firearm like a 6.5 Grendel?
Probably not.
Probably not. You were shown Exhibit 184D, which you indicate that you made that was a timeline on October the 9th, 2019 from 5 p.m. to 12:28 p.m. or 12:28 a.m. You remember that?
There were two. They have to show me which one exactly we're talking about.
Sure. Your Honor, can I publish 184D?
Yes.
Can I just use my copy or should I use the court's for the original copy?
Oh, that's a new graphic. That one's coming.
Well, if we can ensure that you've got the same information on yours, I don't mind for.
We'll just use the court. I don't want to make a record of it, of anything odd.
And I will indicate for the record, the copies were the same that were provided to defense counsel.
Okay, we'll just publish directly from the admitted exhibit.
That's a new one. That one will be out tomorrow.
So you're looking at 184D. Does this look familiar to you?
It does. Yep.
All right. And when you talked earlier about there being text messages between Alex and Chad and Lori and Zulema and Chad and Lori, and you don't have those text messages, right?
No.
So you don't know what they were talking about?
Correct.
Could be any number of things.
It could.
All right. You're not speculating that it was about this specific event, right?
I could say that it was based on my training experience, I believe they were talking about an attempted shooting.
Okay. Of a paintball gun?
No, of a homicide.
Okay. All right.
He wants so bad to use her thinking it may have been a paintball gun to discredit the whole thing.
On Exhibit 184E, this is a timeline between October 18th and 19th, 2019, between 6:13 p.m. and 12:35 a.m. You remember that?
If you'll show it to me, it'd be great.
Yeah, y'all just wait. It's coming tomorrow. Tonight, if I have time, definitely tomorrow.
Does that look familiar to you?
It does.
Okay.
Happy
Again, these
birthday.
text messages, you don't have any of them. You don't know what they're talking about.
Correct.
All right. And we look in the middle, it says 10:07 p.m. Alex's phone arrives at LDS Church 2.6 miles away, right?
Correct.
All right. There's been earlier testimony that said that this was actually, that there was some sort of a geofence that was within 150 meters. Is that correct?
I can't remember that. I didn't testify to that.
You're not going to testify to that?
About what?
About the geofence being around, and that's where they found it? That's how they got to arriving at the LDS Church?
I got this from the cast report. Correct. If that's what you're talking about, I got this information from the cast report that I reviewed.
Okay. So if the cast report says that it's within 150 yards of the LDS Church,
Yep. Okay.
that wouldn't be at the LDS Church, right?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Counsel's adding testimony not in the record. And I think the witness had already answered regarding the geofence.
I'll overrule that.
So you're testifying to other people's reports, and you're saying that this is at the church?
Correct.
Right. But if the other testimony, the cast report indicates that it was 150 meters around the church, that would be
I'm
more
going to
correct.
object. This misstates the evidence.
I think it's bringing in facts that weren't testified to by the witness, so I'll sustain that.
Okay, Judge, can we have a sidebar?
Yes.
Ugh. I can't stand him. He wants so bad for her thinking it was a paintball gun, because who really thinks that somebody's going to be coming to shoot at you like that? So it's not surprising that she thought it may have been a paintball gun. But he wants to hold on to that little bitty piece of her being confused.
All right, thank you, counsel. You can continue with your cross.
So you were testifying that you had reviewed the cast report. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you didn't review any of the geofence information that came from any of the search warrants?
I believe I reviewed it. I probably couldn't talk about it right now. I wouldn't know. I couldn't remember it.
Okay.
Yes, thank goodness. You can rewind for them if you want to. If you feel like you're missing out. Missing out on the loin fire.
Judge, we have no further questions.
Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Investigator Edwards, as part of your investigation, did you review phone data with other investigators?
Yes.
And were there other investigators that input the data and created charts or other information and put it into a readable format?
Yes.
And did you review that data?
Yes.
And the distance from the church to Chad's house was approximately what distance?
2.6 miles.
When you reviewed contact on October 9th and then again on October 18th to October 19th, was there contact between Alex and Lori?
Yes.
Was there contact between Chad and Alex?
Yes.
Was there contact between Chad and Lori?
Yes.
You were asked about if an AR was fired or if a Grendel was fired, if it would make a whooshing sound.
Yes.
If a firearm jams or misfires, would there be any kind of a sound?
No. There might be a bolt or something, maybe the clicking on the trigger, a number of things that could possibly happen. But if it jams before a round comes out, there might be minimal noise.
If a round was actually fired off and went by someone's head, would they potentially hear a sound?
Yes.
What kind of a sound might they hear?
A whooshing sound.
There you go.
You were asked about whether or not you followed up on the report of a teenager that may be a suspect in regards to owning a paintball gun.
Correct.
And you did not follow up with him?
No.
Again, when you're conducting an investigation, do you go where the evidence takes you?
I do.
Did you locate evidence suggesting or showing a device associated with Alex Cox was in the area of the Daybell residence on October 9th of 2019?
Yes.
Did you review Google searches from Homer J. Maximus regarding drops and other information regarding a drop from specific yards?
Yes.
And that was an account linked to Alex Cox?
Correct.
Did you also look at a Grendel that was found at an apartment associated with Alex Cox?
I did.
Did you find contact between Alex and Chad on October 9th of 2019?
I did.
And again, what's the connection between Chad and Alex?
Rory Vallow.
I have no further questions.
There you go.
All right.
That's the
Thanks, Blake.
common denominator.
That'll conclude the testimony of this witness then. Will the witness be released from any subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor, we would request.
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. The bailiff will help assist you out of the courtroom.
Boom. I am so impressed by her. I really am.
All right, Ms. Blake, where does the state stand at this point on its case in chief?
Your Honor, the state would request a
Total
sidebar.
girl crush.
Very well.
I gotta grab a drink.
All right, we're back on the record now on KCR 22-21-1624. The court had a sidebar with counsel to discuss scheduling for the remainder of today. At this point, the court has determined there are a few additional matters to take up outside of the presence of the jurors, which we'll do shortly. I am advised that our lunch has been delivered here early, so given the timing, we're going to go ahead and have the lunch recess at this time. Once that's concluded, we'll set that for
right at the
an hour.
beginning.
So at 12:40,
I know how
we'll
she
come
does
back
it.
on the record for additional proceedings.
All right, please.
I'm allergic to Don Thomas. Yeah, she's amazing. I put a poll up about how long y'all think that the jury will deliberate.
Okay, folks, you're free to go. Please grab all your belongings, take with you. And we'll
Thank you. Please be seated.
Okay.
22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. We just concluded the lunch recess. The jurors are not yet present in the courtroom. Prosecution's here, the defendant, as well as the defense attorneys. Before we bring the jurors in, counsel, I wanted to inquire. There was a question on making sure all of the
Hi, Linda Lou.
exhibits that were admitted through the witnesses that have testified thus far were in the court's record. Counsel, is there anything you want to put on the record from the state as it relates to exhibits at this time?
Yes.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that we did have an opportunity to review the exhibit list and confirm with the clerks the admission of the exhibits that had been presented by the state.
Okay, so you don't see any amendments we need to make to what's already been lodged?
We do not, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, one issue I'll clarify, I'm not sure we've received yet. We had on those guns and the baffle of the gun and the two baffles, we had an agreement that in lieu of submitting the physical items and evidence.
I think we have the image that the court is requesting just being brought in now.
Okay.
I am not sure that we do have one of the baffles, so we can get that. We've not shown this to defense counsel. If we can show them, it is an image of the firearm that was brought in, just a photograph taken of it.
So this is what's going to go into the record, or is this what's going to go back to the jury room? Or both?
Ella.
This is only for purposes of post-trial record,
Okay.
not what goes in as evidence. The exhibit itself will be allowed to be viewed by the jurors in deliberations. This is for the appellate record.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
And Your Honor, we had failed to pull the photograph of the baffles we'd forgotten, so we are requesting that one be provided, and we can show that to counsel in the court as well. We're just messaging someone to get a photo of those.
Okay, and counsel, given the
Night, Alyssa. Maybe.
I don't see it as a problem to get those in and submitted. They are really, it's a different type of submission of evidence where they're replacing the physical evidence for the record of the case to be lodged in the case. So I don't believe those are required to be already in the record before the state rests is what I'm saying. I think those can be put in at any point before the case is totally concluded.
Would you like those marked with an exhibit sticker reflecting the exhibit number, then maybe just a note indicating that it was really a physical exhibit?
I think that's how the rule would read for you to do that, is to have them relate to what they're the representation of a physical exhibit that was too large or dangerous.
Biggest
to
answer
include,
was 1 to 2
to
days,
be held for the appellate record.
then less than 1 day, and then 3 days or more.
We will get the photo of the baffle, show that to defense first to make sure that that doesn't cause them any concern, and then we can get them marked and submitted.
We're
to the court.
gathering the
Okay, and
people,
we can get those,
Holly Percy
in,
Pants. We're
like I say,
gathering the people.
Unlike other evidence that must be submitted in your case in chief, that's sort of a replacement under the rule for the record of the case, not the exhibit. So at some point, I don't think
You're
it's
going to get in trouble
necessarily
again.
required to be done right at this time. So if you'll just follow up on that, we'll make sure that it comports with the order that we already entered on the record as it relates to those 3 exhibits. All right. At this point, then, I believe we're probably ready to have the jurors return so we can continue the proceedings. Is that correct? Anything else the state wishes to bring up before the jurors are brought in?
Wow.
And Your Honor, I think the only other issue is there is a clerical error in the indictment. We were trying to get the amended indictment corrected for the court, but due to the format that we had it saved in, we'd run into some technical issues. I'm not sure if we could make a record of that and then get that clerical error corrected and submitted to the court.
Is that going to be brought as a motion then to alter or amend the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor. Oh, an amended information or, yeah, the amended indictment.
Is the defense aware of that?
Night Bug there.
This is the first time I've heard of that.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that either. So that would be, I think, properly a motion to be argued outside the presence of the jurors. Would you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, given the status of where we are, I think we need to get that issue taken care of and resolved before the jurors probably return would be the time to do it. Although I do want to have the defense an adequate opportunity to see what the proposed amendment would be. So if you have that information, why don't you discuss it with the defense, and then I'll come back on the record and we can have a motion if there is one as it relates to any altering or amendment of the state's indictment.
That sounds good, Your Honor. Thank you.
We'll be in recess.
All right.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we're back on the record on case CR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. The state, I believe, is preparing to rest, but has brought up a few issues before it does so. And one of the issues mentioned on the record was a proposal to make a motion or argue to in some way amend or alter the indictment in the case. Ms. Blake, is there a request or motion by the state to do so?
He's here.
Your Honor, there is.
All right, counsel. The court will note that.
Enjoy lurking,
Give me just a
Shireen.
moment.
I'm drinking out of my cult leader cup today.
This motion is governed by Idaho Criminal Rule 7E. And with that in mind, Mr. Wood, if you're arguing the motion, you can do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state just seeks to amend, according to Rule 7, a couple of clerical errors. In counts 1, count 3, counts 1 and 3, there's a conspiracy to commit murder and theft by deception, grand theft by deception. And in count, make sure I get the right number, 7, there's grand theft, and the language is clearly says by deceit and with the intent to deprive another of property. The state had inadvertently marked, instead of 18 24034 or 2A, which is a theft by deception. We had inadvertently marked 4A, which is theft by possession. However, the language of the indictment is clear that it's theft by deception. So we are asking to amend that 4A in those counts to the 2A to match the language of the actual charging document. And the other clerical error is in count 5 on the overt act. 10, where it did read Alex going to the gun range in the months before October 9th, 2019. That was intended to be month, which is in compliance with what was presented in evidence. And so the state is moving to make those clerical changes. Nothing in this adds a new charge. It's still grand theft, and this brings the indictment further into compliance with the actual language used. We do not believe that the substantial rights of the defendant would be affected in any way, shape, or form by this. She's been on notice the entire time by the language of the indictment.
All right. Who would be arguing for the defense?
I will, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Archibald, if you'd like to present any argument in opposition, if there is any.
Your Honor, I have asked for a copy of an amended indictment. Haven't received that yet, but I can still make some argument while we're waiting for that. The indictment that was filed here, we're looking at the indictment that was signed by the grand jury foreman on May 25th of 2021. So 2 years ago, this indictment was filed with the court. It has not been amended for 2 years. We have requested the amendment as our defense team. We have asked to amend this, and that's been denied. And now the state is asking to amend it 2 years later. And Idaho Code Section 19-1420 indicates an amendment of an indictment cannot be amended so as to charge an offense other than that for which the defendant has been held to answer. And so by changing the code sections of the statutes, they are changing the codes. Their proposal is to change the code sections from grand theft by intent to deprive another to grand theft by deception. So grand theft by deception is a different code section than grand theft by intent to deprive another of property. So these are different charges. They are not just mere clerical errors. And so what's happened here is the grand jury, if the grand jury indicted her on the wrong code section, then we've been operating under that for 2 years. And so she hasn't entered a plea yet to the new code section as proposed by the state. So it does affect her substantial rights. So I have asked for a printout from the state of their new proposed indictment so that I can confirm their proposed language today as opposed to what the grand jury indicted her.
This is
on
Archibald.
some
He's
2
the
years ago.
one of the defense attorneys.
And so that's my concern, Your Honor, is that it sounds like their proposal is not a mere clerical error, but it does affect the substantial rights of my client. And if that's the case, then this error is fatal.
All right, response from the state, Mr. Wood.
Your Honor, we believe that the language of the indictment was clear and adequately put the defendant on notice of what she was charged with, that she was charged with grand theft by deception. I would note that either way, the state we believe we've met the burden of either of those. However, the plain language of the indictment is clear that she was charged with theft by the conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft by deception. It's in that. Not only is it in the heading, it's in the language.
All right, and to be clear again, Mr. Wood, which of those counts were you seeking to have amended in the information?
1, 3, and 7.
All right, going back to just Mr. Archibald as to I actually don't have any further questions as it would relate to count 5 and the request to change the overt acts language. So the court's considered both Idaho Code 19-1420, which governs
I have not seen that.
the amendment of an indictment, which is what we have in this case, an indictment returned by the grand jury. I've also reviewed Criminal Rule 7E, which also relates to amendment of an indictment. 7E states the court may permit amendment of a complaint, an information, or indictment at any time before the prosecution rests if no additional or different offense is charged and if substantial rights of the defendant are not prejudiced.
Send it to me,
19-1420
James.
says an indictment or information may be amended by the prosecuting attorney without leave of the court at any time before the defendant pleads or at any time thereafter in the discretion of the court where it can be done without prejudice to the substantial rights of the defendant. An information or indictment cannot be amended so as to change or to charge an offense other than that for which the defendant has been held to answer. There's a case, State versus Jeske, 164 Idaho 862, 2019 case that says the decision to permit an amendment is a matter within the discretion of the trial court. That cites to a case, State versus Severson, 147 Idaho 694. The court may allow an amendment of an information at any time before the prosecution rests, so long as doing so does not prejudice the defendant's substantial rights or charge the defendant with a different offense, citing to Criminal Rule 7 and Section 19-1420, and a case, State versus O'Neill, 118 Idaho 244. So there's discretion here for the court to consider that under the rule. At the outset, I will note clearly the concerns raised by the defense that it just, the timing's sort of unbelievable with the number of prosecutors that have worked this case for so long that it's not something that came up in the course of trial or testimony. It's just making a correction here on whatever day of the trial we're at. We've been in trial for a very long time and we're getting towards the end of the trial. And this is the kind of motion that clearly the court doesn't like, having all of our jurors sitting around waiting for us to take these matters up that could have been done by motion at any point before now. So disappointing that the court has to consider this right now at this stage of the proceedings, but the rule does make clear that it can be done up until the time the state rests. The state has not yet rested. So there are 4 proposals to amend and change the indictment. The count 5 overt act 10, where it would be amended from months plural to month singular. The court finds that is more in the nature of a clerical correction and would not in any way affect or prejudice the substantial rights of the defendant by changing that. So the court will permit that overt act 10 in count 5 to be amended to the singular term month, not the plural term months. As it relates to counts 1, 3, and 7, count 1 is charged in the indictment as conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception, a felony. It then does list the code sites underneath. 18-2403-4A is what's specifically stated there.
For the video you're talking about?
I guess a few things. There's multiple purposes of an indictment, but mainly to put the defendant on notice what
this is over in,
and also to advise and instruct the jury what the defendant's charged with.
We can play
code
it.
Sites probably have
this is done
no
if you want
should
to.
not have any significance to the jurors, as they'll be instructed on what the law is as it relates to the Idaho Code section, which in this case is 18-2403.
Send me the link in my DMs on Twitter.
State wants to amend to
and I'll play it
so
as soon as this finishes if you want to.
Amendment would be a substantial rights of the defendant coming into play as being prejudiced at this stage of the proceedings if the court were to allow that. There's another statute I think that can come into the analysis, which is Idaho Code 19-1417, which talks about words of the statute. Words used in a statute to define a public offense need not be strictly pursued in the indictment, but other words conveying the same meaning may be used. When the court has considered the proposed amendments, count 2 under 19-2403, 2A is a theft. Under A it says by deception, obtains or exerts control over property of the owner. 4A is not by deception. It's where someone takes property and, quote, intends to deprive the owner permanently of the use or benefit of the property.
So they're going over
Because
the change of
language of the
I
indictment,
don't want to talk
not the
over
code
it.
side,
Sorry.
does include the term deception in count one, both in the caption of what count one is, what's already been read to the jurors in
They're
this
trying
case,
to change the count,
and also
like
in
the
charging language
indictment.
at the end of the first paragraph. It says to commit grand theft by deception. The court finds on that count that the proposed amendment would not, at this point, prejudice the substantial rights of the defendant, since the defense has been placed on notice that the theory under which the theft is alleged by the state is a theft by deception. So the court would find that the indictment may be amended under Rule 7E as well as 1914-20 as to count one, because it contains that explicit language of theft by deception. For that same reason, a mirroring language in count three, which also is charged as, quote, conspiracy to commit first degree murder and grand theft by deception. And in the charging body of the language, it also states to commit grand theft by deception. The court would find that did provide adequate notice to the defense throughout the proceedings of the theory under which the theft was being pursued, although it didn't conform necessarily with the subsection of 2403. So the court will permit the amendment on that count. And then finally, as it relates to count 7, which is a count of grand theft felony, that is just charged generally as grand theft, and the court considered that it's charged under 4A. It does contain in the body of it as well the word deceit, saying that between Madison and Fremont counties by deceit and with the intent to deprive another of property. And the court would note that that deceit language or deception is not contained anywhere in the 2403-4 subsection, but is only contained in the subsection 2. So the court would find again under 1914-20 that the indictment under criminal
They're almost
70
done for
is not
today,
going to
which is almost
prejudice the
done
substantial rights of the
other than
defendant. In this
closing
case,
arguments.
the motion's been made before the state rested, and for those reasons, then I'll permit the amendment as it relates to paragraph 7 of the indictment also. So the state's instructed to submit a conforming new amended indictment for filing in the case, which must be received by the court, obviously, before the jurors go in for deliberations and before the final instructions are completed in the case. That'll be the ruling on the motion then. Any questions on my ruling, Mr. Wood?
No, thank you.
All right, any questions from the defense?
No.
All right, thanks, counsel. With that being said, then let's go ahead and bring our jurors back in.
So they're wanting the counts amended on the indictment, and he approved it. Yeah. He didn't want to have to do it at this hour with as many prosecutors as there are or whatever. So instead of grand theft by intent, I have to go back and listen. I should have taken notes. Instead of grand theft by intent, it's grand theft by deception. Is that what he said? Is that what it was, Laura Ferris? Instead of grand theft by intent, it's grand theft by inception or deception.
All right, thank you. Please be seated.
There you go. The plain language.
Okay, we are on the record on KCR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow.
Yeah, this is
The
all about the
state
Social Security
has,
stuff.
Called or had just completed a witness who testified, and the state continues with its case in chief. Does the state have another witness to call at this time?
We do not, Your Honor.
So does the state rest?
The state rests.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blake. right, let me next inquire of the defense. At this time, then, is the defense going to be making any motions that would need to be made outside the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor, it is customary for the defense to make a motion after the state rests. We'd like to do so.
I like how he
so,
tells the judge it's
considering the timing of
customary.
that motion, the court would note that there is a motion that will be heard outside of the presence of the jurors, and I'll note the holdover at lunch was another motion we were also hearing here. Given the time that that motion may take and for the court to prepare a ruling, would the defense prefer that we allow the jurors to be excused for the day? And I'll ask the state as well so that we can be prepared to proceed again in the morning.
May we have a sidebar on that issue?
Yes.
Okay, I'm about to pull up that other video because this one's going to be ending in just a minute. Just a few minutes.
All right, the court just
We'll watch
had
that
a
other
sidebar
one.
with counsel, and we were talking about the best use of our time for the efficiency of the proceedings here. I'll note that at this stage of the proceedings, it's not unusual that we do have to have some time for administrative matters and hearing of motions in the case. So we're going to take another recess at this point to allow for some additional preparation. We'll have the jurors just wait until they can be brought back in, and I think that'll be a more efficient use of the jurors' time, and then we'll sort out an efficient schedule moving forward after today, also depending on where things land today, this afternoon. So in lieu of excusing you earlier, which I had considered, we'll have you continue to wait and argue a motion outside of your presence and allow for the defense to do that. We'll then have you brought in and give you further instructions on how we'll be proceeding going forward. So these are the times. There was an instruction early on that said at times there are delays that occur when we're working on other things. That's what's happening now. So I'd ask you to not be discouraged by that, and we will diligently work to move things forward. And we'll take another recess at this point and take up these legal issues outside of your presence. Thank you. Please be seated.
We're ending a little early tonight. I'm going to show
All right. At this time, the state has rested.
that one video
Mr.
when we're
Archibald, is the
done.
defense making a motion at this point?
There's been a few videos that
Yes, Your
y'all
Honor.
mentioned. If there's any other short ones y'all want to
Under
see,
Rule
I can
29
show.
of the Idaho Criminal Rules, Rule 29 provides for a mechanism for the court to review the evidence that's been submitted and determine if there's been sufficient evidence on each count to proceed to the jury. So under Rule 29, we're asking the court to review the evidence and determine if there's sufficient evidence on each count, including overt acts, as this is a complicated case, to submit the matter to the jury. I believe Rule 29 does give the court discretion to
Night, Lisa
take
Wilmot.
that matter
We'll see
under
you tomorrow.
advisement under Rule 29B. And so if the court needs some time to review the evidence, compare it to each count, we're okay with that. We're not opposed to the court taking
Night, Strawberry
the time
Queen, if you're
necessary
going
to
to
review
sleep
that.
too. We're almost
And
done.
While the court reviews that, I would be asking for a break so that me and co-counsel and my investigator can meet with my client to determine how and if she wants to proceed with presenting a defense. I would ask, it's about 1:45, I would ask for at least a 15-minute recess so that, and the marshal, I'd ask, can take us to a secure location so that we can have an open
Don't
discussion
go.
about my
Don't
client's right
go.
to
I
proceed.
can't do it like they do.
All right. One point I think needs to be clarified here as it relates to Rule 29. The 29B allows a decision on the issue to be reserved if it's at motion made at the close of all evidence. Under 29A, and we're at that stage of the proceedings. It's before submission to the jury, after the prosecution closes its evidence. Then, according to
I
the
love
rule,
y'all. Y'all are so funny.
if the court denies the motion at the close of the prosecution's evidence, the defendant may offer evidence. So what you're suggesting, Mr. Archibald, is I would say Rule 29A gives you the option to have me make a determination before you go forward with evidence. Under your proposal,
First in, last
I
to
believe
leave.
you'd be waiving that if you are permitting the court to take the judgment of acquittal under advisement before determining whether or not you're going to rest your case. So why don't you look at that, think about that for a moment, and with that in mind, I'll ask the state if you have a responsive argument under the
Night, Strawberry
Rule
Queen.
29 motion that's been made.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And I would cite to a couple cases for the court. State v. Huggins, 103 Idaho 442. It's an Idaho Court of Appeals case from 1982. It outlines the test for deciding a motion for judgment of acquittal under Idaho Criminal Rule 29 is as follows. The trial judge must review the evidence in the light most favorable to the state, recognizing that full consideration must be given to the right of the jury to determine the credibility of witnesses, the weight to be afforded evidence, as well as the right to draw all justifiable inferences from the evidence. Viewed in this manner, where the inculpatory evidence presented as to any essential element of the crime is so insubstantial that jurors could not help but have a reasonable doubt as to the proof of that element, a judgment of acquittal should be entered. The state's position in this case is it is a rare circumstance that judgments of acquittal tend to be appropriate. As the court already noted in citing to Idaho Criminal Rule 29, there are different times that defense may make a motion for a judgment of acquittal. We are under 29A before submission to the jury. It would be the state's position that we have presented evidence to support every element of all 9 counts of the indictment, that we have presented evidence that would not lead to the jury having no choice but to have reasonable doubt. And we believe that this would be appropriate to be submitted to the jury for their consideration at the close of the defense's presentation of any evidence. So we would ask that the court deny the motion.
All right. Response, Mr. Archibald?
Your Honor, I understand the standard and I understand the language of the rule. Whether the court makes a decision under 29A or 29B, I'll leave that up to the court. If we do not present any evidence, then that issue would be moot in any event.
All right. With that in mind, then the court would note I've raised that issue under Rule 29, where we're at A at this point. It's the type of motion that does require the court to look at each one of the elements of each of the counts, and the indictment's fairly lengthy in the number of counts. And so the court needs to go back through and review the evidence that's been presented to ensure that Rule 29 judgment of acquittal as to any of the given counts would not be appropriate given the standard I have to consider. So the court will need to take that issue under advisement. And what I'll do, given the comments there by Mr. Archibald, is I am reserving ruling on that motion. And if the defense wishes to move forward with their presentation of any evidence, then I'll, without prejudice for you to re-raise the motion, the court will make a ruling on the record, but will not be able to do so this afternoon.
Yeah, we're almost
So
done with
it
the
is under
live, so
advisement,
hang
and
out with us, and then
Mr.
you can go
Archibald
back.
will provide you time to have a private consultation with your client and Mr. Thomas. The court's instructed that in
His
order to
brain
allow
is
for that,
buffering.
this is the most secure setting here in the courtroom. We're going to require that everyone be cleared from the courtroom except for only the required security personnel that need to remain in the courtroom, and all other parties, including the court and any court staff, will need to exit the courtroom in order to allow for a privileged attorney-client conversation to be able to take place between counsel and your client this time. So we'll be in recess until further notice. Mr. Archibald, Mr. Thomas, once you've concluded consultation with your client, please advise the court.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, I'm going to faster until they get to the point where, because we're almost done. We just have to listen to them tell us what we already know happened. We're at like the last
Thank you.
7 minutes if I wasn't going this fast.
All right, we are back on the record on KCR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. The state has rested its case in chief. We took a recess. A Rule 29 motion for judgment of acquittal was argued and taken under advisement by the court. Counsel for the defense wished to have time for a privileged and private communication with their client regarding proceeding forward at this time. So let me inquire of the defense now. Mr. Archibald, have you and Mr. Thomas had an opportunity to consult with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how does the defense intend to proceed going forward?
Your Honor, we don't believe the state has proved its case, so the defense will rest.
Very well. Does the defense then I'll just inquire of your client, Mr. Archibald. So, Ms. Vallow, you do have the Fifth Amendment right to, in this case, according to the Fifth Amendment, it's guaranteed by the United States Constitution that no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against themselves. And this privilege applies to Idaho through the 14th Amendment. That guarantees that no person may be compelled in a criminal case to testify. So you do have that right and will maintain that right. And is it your decision to continue to maintain that right and not testify in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for your response, and I appreciate counsel discussing that with your client. With that in mind, then, counsel, I believe we'll have the jurors brought back in. Mr. Archibald, if you intend to rest, let me just clarify with this Rule 29 motion. If you are going to rest, I think I would be reserving a decision on that under Rule 29B. Is that your understanding?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the court will consider the motion under Rule 29B then, and it will remain under advisement, and the court will issue a ruling on that in due course. So with that in mind, we'll have the jurors brought in. Counsel, the court's schedule at this point would then have the jurors excused for the day. Tomorrow, the court will spend the day working with counsel throughout the day to get the jury instructions determined and completed and all copied and ready. And then we would be commencing with the closing arguments on Thursday morning. Is that the schedule that would be satisfactory to the state?
Yes.
Will that schedule work as well with the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I am going to advise the jurors then of that schedule so that they're made aware. At this time then, let's have the jurors brought in, please.
I don't think she thinks she's innocent. I think she thinks she's justified.
All right, please.
Thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. All right, this time we are on the record on KCR 22-211624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. We took a break for further matters outside the presence of the jurors. The jurors are now here returned. At this time, the state has rested its case in chief. This will be the time then for the defense to present its case. Mr. Archibald, upon consultation with your client, would you please advise the court on how the defense is proceeding at this time?
Your Honor, after consultation with my client, we don't believe the state has proven its case, so the defense rests.
Very well. The defense has rested as well at this time then. So I'll just advise the jurors that will conclude the evidence portion of this trial. What will happen next is the court will need to go through the jury instructions you'll be receiving before.
They're thinking
deliberations
June
begin.
of next
There will
year.
be a jury instruction conference with counsel tomorrow. Given the amount of evidence and the number of charges here, that will take some time. So we're going to have you be excused for tomorrow. We will continue then Thursday morning with the closing arguments, which will be presented to you by both sides. Which will
I'm
be a summation
excited for
of
that.
the evidence, and that will take place before your deliberations begin, and then you'll be given your final jury instructions. So that will conclude the trial proceedings for today. At this point, then you'll be excused until Thursday morning with tomorrow off. And so let me just please advise you with that extra day off. Again, please follow the court's admonition to not discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Don't do anything to look the case up, to investigate the case. If you see any reporting on the case,
Or October, if
please,
they can
turn
work
away from
out
that and don't do
the
anything which would affect your ability
holiday
to maintain
stuff
your
that they're
impartiality in this
concerned
case.
about.
The court and the parties appreciate your continued adherence.
I
to that
took it as they're
admonishment
more
each day
leaning
as we
toward
break.
next year,
So
but if
with
they
that,
can
we
work
will,
out the
come back on for additional argument. Closing
holiday
arguments
stuff
on
that
Thursday
they're
morning, and we'll plan on starting
worried
again at our
about
normal time at
being
8:30. So that will conclude the proceedings for
a
today.
problem.
All right, please.
I wish they would go ahead and do it in October.
Thank you. Please
Oh,
be seated.
dang.
All right, counsel, I would just ask that the parties make themselves available tomorrow. I'll have my staff attorney reach out to you for some scheduling of when we'll be going on the record as it relates to the jury instructions. We'll be meeting with counsel first informally to go through the proposed jury instructions. Once we've gone through any agreed upon instructions, any that are contested will be placed on the record, and the court will make rulings on those in an open proceeding. And we'll let counsel know about what time we think we'll be prepared to meet with you first informally for the jury instruction conference tomorrow. So that will conclude the matter for today. Anything further from the state this afternoon?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anything further from the defense?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All righty. So, yeah. So, in the hearing, we played it the other day when we were on our stream, but they did the trial. So they were worried about, his being a longer trial as well. So they were talking about the possibility of moving it because it was going to be later this year. If it goes into the holidays, then it could be issues and with scheduling issues and stuff like that. So they were concerned about that. So they talked about putting it to possibly June of next year. So we'll see how that goes. I would love for them to go ahead and do it like now because I just want to see him not happy. Okay, so this is the video that y'all were talking about with the let me make sure that playback speed's normal. This is the video y'all are talking about with the court papers. Oops. Hold on. I gotta unmute it.
Are you standing, Lord? How's it going? Are you standing, Lord? This is Vallow Daybell, sir.
Do you have any questions regarding that?
So it is 14:39 hours on January 25th.
Look at them just trying to live their best lives. Pieces of crap.
Any questions?
You have any questions for that? No?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. All right. How's it going? Are you Shannon, Lord?
Pieces of crap. That's what they get.
This is Vallow Daybell, sir.
I hope it ruined
Do you have any questions
her
regarding that?
stupid pool day.
So it is 14:39 hours on.
He's working on
January
his
25th.
what do you call it? What do you call his new plan to get his body together and get tan and all that bull crap? That's the bikini she wore in her Miss America pageant. I wonder if I can zoom in anymore.
Any
Oops.
questions?
You have any questions for that? No?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Oh, she's awful. She is so awful. Oh, she's so awful. His wannabe romance cover makeover. That was what it is. Ugh. Thank you so much, AJ. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have some of our amazing members to thank for that. I love it when y'all send me funny stuff. And I love watching horrible people get served with court papers and ruining their stupid day. I'm so glad, like, when I see stuff like that, where it's like, you know, she's out there trying to live her best life. Like, she's gotten rid of her precious children so that she can go be with that jerk. And I love seeing stuff like that. I think she's a horrible person. I cannot, as a mother, even begin to understand. I try to have empathy for everybody, but not people like that. Not people like that. She does not deserve empathy. She deserves rage, and for us to make fun of her and her thumb husband. So that's all of that. Let me see if I missed any questions. Let's see. Yeah, that's infuriating. She's awful, awful, awful. Thank you so much, Amos. I appreciate it. Amos, you're the best. His makeover plan proves Lori as puppet master to me. Yeah, you can tell that all the stuff that all of a sudden he cares about is not stuff that, you know, his kind librarian wife seemed to really give a crap about. And now it's just kind of all about Lori and her vain self. Blech. She's awful. So tomorrow, I don't know the exact time. I think it will be around 4:00 Eastern-ish. But what we're going to do is we are going to go directly into the stream and the recap in the chat as soon as everything ends with the trial that what's his name? Catiglione or something. I'd have to pull it up. Today's the first time I'd heard it, so I have to pull it up. But we're going to go into it as soon as we do that tomorrow. So we will do that. All right. I'm so behind y'all. I'm trying to catch up. Thank you so much, Annie. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all's help so much. I get nervous when I do it by myself. They are going to live stream the verdict. So I am going to be all on it. I have, like, this was like, I texted JT today. I was like, this is like Christmas, because we worked so hard to keep the graphics going and try to keep, the visual stuff going as we can. And so to find out that we're actually going to have video was like Christmas to us. So I am definitely going to be streaming it. I already put in like all my stuff, whatever. I will be right by my phone and my computer and my everything, and we will be streaming it definitely for sure. Yes, I live at the beach, and I very, very rarely go to the pool. So many people would have taken her children, so many, and it's really sad that she didn't give anybody the chance and didn't give them a chance to live. So, good night, Angie. Good night. Yes, I agree. Despicable doesn't even begin to describe it. Let's see what else I missed. Laura Ferris, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laura Ferris. I appreciate it. And Laura Ferris has been so helpful because she's in the courtroom. She's been giving us some insight into reactions and into, things that have been going on, and, how Lori's behaving and how the jury is looking at things, and, all that inside stuff that we don't get to see because we don't have cameras. So thank you so much, Laura Ferris. We love you to pieces. Thank you so much, Knoxville Agent. I appreciate that so much. Yes, those are the best emojis forever and ever. I will always use those emojis forever. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. I can't wait for Thirsty Jurors. That's exciting too. We looked up her book that she's reading. It's called Visions of Glory, One Man's Astonishing Account of the Last Days. Oh, look who it is, Brother Brewmeister. Hello. Hi, JT. We missed you tonight. It was not the same without you. But I handled the audio and not really any issues, other than there was twice where I heard like double audio. But other than that, it was great. Thank you to our amazing cult. Yes. We love you so much. Laura Ferris. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Frankie's World. Thank you, Nan R. Good night. Cajun Kool-Aid. You're going to be sleeping on the couch. Is Cajun Kate still in here? Cajun Kool-Aid sleeping on the couch tonight. Y'all say bye to Cajun Kool-Aid. He's sleeping on the couch. Just joking. But he did say that his wife is stalking him, so he might be sleeping on the couch. Yes, Laura Ferris, our mods are amazing. They are wonderful. Thank you so much. They are not live streaming closing arguments. However, they are going to do the same thing where they're going to release the closing arguments on Thursday, and we will be here live streaming the closing arguments, and we will be making fun of John Thomas in all of our We Hate John Thomas glory, and we will be here for that as well. Good night, Aaron. I wish, but just the verdict is what the motion said today. I was reading the court papers earlier. Just the motion is what they said. Look at him. Oh, Brother Brewmeister. He's like become my other. We think too much alike, which is a little scary. Let's see. Jams, thank you for sending the video. Thank you. Yes, Betsy, y'all please show True Crime Web some love when not watching. Okay, so Mr. Steve does a great, and he's a friend of our channel, so we have his links and stuff up too. He does a great job, and right now with us having to go later, I miss, the starting of his stuff sometimes, but I still try to catch the second half. But since we'll be starting soon, Maybe I'll be able to catch the beginning more often, which will be great. He does a great job. Okay, good night. I'm catching up. I'm still catching up. So sorry. Thank you so much, Teresa. Good night, Jams. Don't read it unless you're ready to portal away. Oh, the portals. I will always hold portals dear to my heart. Good night, Data Lisa. Good night. Good night. Good night, Melissa. Good night, Diet Coke Mama. I'm still catching up. Still catching up. We all heard the double audio. See, it wasn't just me. It was not just me. I thought I was going crazy, but there were two little times where, and it didn't last for long, but there were two times where we heard double audio. But other than that, everything went fine. Yes, Laura, please. Yes, yes, yes. I would love that. I would love that. I would love that. And I will DM you my information. I would absolutely love to have your input on everything that happened. Closings will not show video that I know of. It's just going to be the verdict. But I'm still just excited for that. Look at King Abe. King Abe is in here. Okay, I think I'm almost caught up. Good night. Good night. Thank you so much, Bessie. Bessie. You can tell I'm tired and I've had a little bit to drink. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, the king must go down with his chat. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I am finally caught up now. I'm sorry if I missed y'all. I try my best. It is a little bit hard for me to keep up with all of the chat when I don't have Brother Brewmeister here because Lord knows he helps me with everything. So if I missed you, it was not intentional. I'm so sorry. And y'all are really my absolute favorites. So I will see y'all tomorrow, and the link is up on my Twitter and the link is up on the YouTube, but we are going to go into it. The time is not sure, only because we're going to go into it as soon as the trial tomorrow for Catiglione or whatever his name is. I can't remember it. Whenever it ends, that's when we're going into it. So I will see y'all then. Thank you for reporting to jury duty. We'll see you tomorrow.